Hello, folks, and welcome to the Do Not Peek Valorant First Look. Man, we are super excited. Normally, we do stuff in a really fancy state-of-the-art studio here in Arizona, but obviously the virus has made us go back to our old ways of online only. Not a problem for us gamers. We do this all the time. First off, some brief introductions. I'm Sir Scoots, as always, Scott Smith, one of the managing directors and co-owners of Do Not Peek Entertainment. I'm joined today by my co-owner and co-managing director, Jason Alchemist Baker. On the one side of me, we run this company together. We've been around forever, old school Counter-Strikers. A lot of today's conversation will relate to our impressions of Valorant as it kind of relates to Counter-Strike. Not necessarily a super in-depth kind of argument back and forth, but initial impressions of how they stack up. And then on the other side of me, we've got Anthony Perfetto, also works for Do Not Peek full-time. He is our video editor, graphic designer, jack of all trades, EVS operator, brainstorm operator, all sorts of stuff when we're in the studio. Also a well-known movie maker for Counter-Strike in his own right. We hired him because he makes really good Counter-Strike movies. If you're familiar at all with the Echoes of Counter-Strike series that has happened the last couple years, Anthony is one of the crew and style productions that is behind that series. So good to have him on board. All three of us were invited to the play weekend last weekend for Play Valorant. So thank you, Riot, for inviting us. So obviously the embargo lifts today. Everyone and their mother can talk about what they did last weekend, show their footage, all that kind of good stuff. Let me talk a little bit about the drops. A lot of you might be here for the drops. The way the drops work, very, very simple. There are no keys. I have no beta key to give you. I have no keys I'm going to send you. This is all a system that's set up between Riot and Twitch. Very, very easy system, right? Our channel will be and should be right at 10 o'clock, right about now, enabled for drops. And then what happens is all you have to do as a viewer is on your Twitch channel, your settings, just like linking it to any other developer, you want to link your Riot account to your Twitch account. That's all you have to do, right? Once that's done, you'll be eligible for drops in our channel or any other channels that are doing them today. And then what will happen is the little bell up in the corner, your notifications in Twitch will light up. Like if you get a message or something, it'll light up there that you got a drop. And that'll give you instructions. What'll basically happen is you'll redeem your access closer to the 7th. No one's playing this game live until the 7th, right? So you'll get access today. Riot will get in touch with you how you redeem your access via the Twitch system, and then away we go, right? So hopefully, with not hundreds and thousands of viewers watching us, maybe your odds will be good in our little channel. So I'd like you to tell all your friends you're watching Do Not Peek, but that might hurt your odds too. I don't know. Obviously, we have no control over it. Riot and Twitch are blanketing everyone. It's not like we have X amount of keys and Tim the Tapman has X amount of keys. It's all generically being distributed. What I was told is about 25,000 keys will be given out today, or I should say beta access, because again, not really keys, for North America, and another 25,000 to Europe. So there you have it. That brings you up to speed with drops. We'll talk about it a little bit as we go, but not in depth anymore. But let's get into it. Obviously, Valorant, right? Very, very exciting game. Very popular game.
Wait. Oh, you're saying it wrong.
Oh, sorry.
He said it wrong again. He always does that.
Oh, Valorant. We have to yell Valorant, right? Is that it? Because it's capitalized?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they put it in capital letters. You got to say it the right way.
Perfect. And I just got word that drops have been enabled in our chat. If you refresh our page, you'll probably see under the category title of the game, it'll have that little Twitch link that says, or notification that says drops are enabled. So we're good to go. Awesome stuff. So yes, I will scream Valorant every time. No, we're not going to do that. It is kind of funny that they capitalize the name. That's a little pet peeve of mine. Like, why are you doing that? But let's get into it. What is Valorant?
Guys, I got you all perfectly done on audio before. Do not start yelling. You're going to blow my entire system.
We're gonna have to remix the audio if we're gonna start doing this.
There you go. There you go. All right, fair enough. Shout out to the unknown voice, Daniel, also a production specialist for us full time. Is kind of doing a one-man show at home while we remote, as well as Ian. Is also a full-timer who is helping him remotely as well from his house, kind of on the behind-the-scenes of this production. So shout-outs to everybody. Basically, all 5 of us at Do Not Peek are involved in this production today, so it's awesome. So
good job.
We're going to get into Valorant. We're going to talk about gameplay. We got tons of gameplay. We got weapons. We got special interviews. We got Frankie Ward coming to talk to us. She was in the beta a little bit, so was able to play last weekend. We've got to get her impressions. And the student of all FPS shooters, DDK, is going to join us. This guy no other way to put it than a student of games and FPSs, right? He breaks them down, and especially shooters, right? He really gets into them. Old Quake guy, now Counter-Strike guy. So really interested in his thoughts on, more specific like gunplay stuff and really detailed nitty-gritty gameplay stuff with his Quake background, movement, that kind of stuff. So we got 2 interviews lined up, tons of gameplay, tons of drops. Valorant, if you're not familiar, if you've been living under a rock, 5v5 game, tactical shooter. And I say that, and I stress tactical. During their presentations last week, they said tactical every 5th word. This is really important to them. This is not a run and gun arcade shooter. They feel that using the word tactical is very important to them. So I just, like, at one time, one of the guys was giving his speech, and I was like, okay, he said tactical 25 times in like 9 minutes. So it's obviously a talking point for them. So tactical shooter, 5v5, economy system like Counter-Strike, but with some abilities on top of that you buy into. Very, very interesting game. My initial impressions, I liked it, played good, felt good. Obviously, very much work in progress. I will caveat that all day long. Everything we're showing you, everything we're all going to talk about, work in progress. When this thing debuts on the 7th, Riot could have already made some drastic changes based on this last feedback of playthrough, right? So work in progress.
It might go all lowercase.
It might go all lowercase. So that's enough from me. Let's get into it. Let's get some initial impressions before we get into our subjects from my 2 guests and coworkers. Starting with you, Alchemist. Welcome to the show. How are you? And what were your initial impressions before we kind of get into the guts of your run of show?
So it's a pure competitive title. And it pissed me off because immediately I got into competitive mode. I completely got into, why aren't you talking on comms? Why aren't you doing a strat? Why aren't you why are you peeking by yourself? It's a 2v1. The bomb's down. Why cover the bomb? What are you doing? Why are you hunting? My mind was already in Counter-Strike mode, and like 20 years of Counter-Strike thrown into day 1 of beta, and I was already getting pissed off at everyone, including myself, because I was doing some stupid shit.
Yeah, because you said that to me during the weekend.
Yeah, I couldn't turn it off.
It pisses me off. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I love
and it's like
what you said, basically.
Even Counter-Strike, I think, has some casual modes. There's deathmatch. There's the hostage maps. This game doesn't have casual mode. I mean, this is all about competition, and so, like, if you want to fuck around in a game, this isn't it.
Yeah, and the weekend seemed like it was a mix of people just excited to be in it, and they're recording content and trying to make footage so they have stuff for the embargo, and people that were like playing to win, right? They weren't making any contact. They were literally playing the game to win, right? They were already try-harding.
I was trying to make content, but it was like, well, I'm getting an AK this round, or whatever the fucking gun is. I got to look at my list. I don't remember the names.
Yeah, and I felt the same way. Like, I felt really uncomfortable that I was still trying to learn the game, and I was still in spawn figuring shit out, and my team was already playing the round and potentially losing. I felt like a bad teammate, right? Anthony, your impressions. I played the least out of all 3. Thank you. I played the least out of all 3 of you guys. So you guys definitely beat on this game a lot more than me. Anthony, your impressions of the weekend.
I'd actually like to get Jason's definition of the word competitive and competitive mode, because to me, that means just criticizing me the entire weekend, which is, I felt like, what happened when we were on the same team at least.
So yeah, like, what's different?
Well,
there's nothing
if
different.
It's not my movies that he's criticizing, it's my playing in Valorant that he's criticizing.
So wait, I'm just gonna say last man standing. That's all.
Last man. I've got friends in
Go ahead,
chat right now, and they're gonna use that against me for the rest of my life. I hope you know that right now, right? Anyway, listen, all I'm saying is the only reason why I'm last man standing is because my teammates were bad.
And speaking of which, we're going to get a chance to see both their gameplay today. Yeah, we got recorded match footage of both these guys, so we will get that.
Yeah, we do. My takeaway from it, to get back to the topic at hand, is basically they took all the defining things of Overwatch and Counter-Strike, they squished them together, and they threw it in a game. And that's pretty much it. You've got the abilities of Overwatch, and you've got the squishiness of the characters from Counter-Strike. Like, you can't take 300, 400 HP of damage and still be alive. Like, you get shot in the head twice, you're dead. So you can't just run into a site and start using abilities. and expect to take out the entire team and survive. Like I tried doing that to test it, and I got destroyed within a second. So it's really, I think they balanced it really well with having just the dynamic nature of Overwatch and sort of the fantastic setting and abilities of Overwatch, but also having the military aspect of Counter-Strike, where it's sort of your body is more realistic despite you being a superhero, for lack of better words. And by realistic, I mean your body is weak. It's mortal.
Yeah, and hitboxes are normalized for everybody, regardless. You don't have big fat agents that have different hitboxes than skinny agents, and not everyone's picking the skinny agent because it's a better competitive pick for hitboxes. And yeah, I think it's a good mix of those games, like you said, Anthony. Money system, gunplay of Counter-Strike, a little bit of abilities of the Overwatch type class-based games, but not necessarily overpowering. But because one thing I brought up to you guys during it is, could a team of 5 who were just amazing with guns win a match without ever hitting their abilities, or could they get close? Because it has to be that the abilities make the difference, right?
To me, it'd be like, can a Counter-Strike team that doesn't use utility win a match? And that's the same thing.
Okay,
it's the same question. Like,
okay,
could Astralis beat a pug of us without utility? Yes, but could they beat another top tier team? No.
Okay.
I mean, those abilities definitely give you an advantage if you use them at the right time. So even if you're not good at raw aiming, you can still get a competitive edge with these abilities at the right time. It's like Jason said, it's when you use a utility at the right time, like a Molotov or a flashbang.
Gotcha. But wouldn't you say, though, in Counter-Strike that wouldn't save you? Being a good molly guy isn't going to save the day, whereas gunplay is still key to, like, I'm trying to figure out the difference of, like, to Jason's point, the utility of the abilities versus that utility of Counter-Strike.
So there's two really, to me, the big utilities is information utilities of where are the other people on the map and where are they at in the site. So that's really big and really important. But then you have just good smokes. Like, you can do a couple different characters can do smokes without even peeking corners and putting things out on the map. And if you're doing things like that, if you just know, hey, if I put this wall on our attack on A site every time I've done my job, yeah, you can make a.
Okay.
I mean, you're kind of useless, but you've done your job.
Yeah, gotcha. So as of right now, a nice mix of the power of both gunplay versus ability play. What I noticed when it comes to, because you have some abilities you buy into, and then you've got the ultimate that you charge into. That didn't seem overpowered to me. I know that before the weekend, everyone was like, wait, there's a res ability. Wait, there's this, there's that. This is overpowering. This is going to break the game. It seemed like those were pretty hard to charge into, the ultimates of each character or agent, right? They weren't throwaway easy to get, or did you guys notice something different than I noticed? Because you played a lot more than me.
Well, first I'll say on the Run a Show, we're completely off the fucking rails. Second,
no, we're going to go back to it. Don't worry, we're getting there.
Normal show.
Yes. But no, I think the abilities are not overpowered. Like, you might get a couple reses a match, and they're easy to. Oh, he res that guy. Oh, I killed him over at long A. She's at long A. It's not. It reveals so much when you're doing abilities like that. I saw people start a res and then get killed because the sound came up. The icon when the res happens, it happens in the kill feed that somebody became resed. Yeah. Everybody knows what's happening. The best time I saw,
and it's not at all like Mercy's res either.
Yeah, I saw somebody was in a 1v1 with the bomb down and did the res to ensure the round win, and that was better than. You're not gonna get lots of. To me, it just adds tension moments. Go ahead. What?
Yeah.
Is that you that did that?
I was just saying that was me that you're referencing. I'm part of your anecdote.
Cool. And again, we've got a whole section. We're going to break down abilities, agents, all that kind of stuff, and kind of get into the minutia of their kits and what they kind of can do. But I just wanted to kind of get the chat with a general, what everyone was talking about a month ago. OP, res, terrible game, already broken, dead game. Not really the case once you start playing it. Now let's get into what obviously is the most important thing to a tactical shooter, most important to us as Counter-Strike guys, gunplay. and how it felt, how recoil was, all that kind of stuff. We've got a nice video that Anthony put together going through kind of all the different guns, plenty of guns in the game. So we're going to play that while I keep talking a little bit. One thing to keep in mind, agents are not locked to any sort of gun, right? There is no CTT different guns. There is no agent-specific guns. Any gun can be bought by any agent if they got the money, right? So there's nothing side-based when it comes to the weaponry. The only thing that's, agent-based is their actual abilities. So that'll be interesting to find what the best gun loadouts are to go with the best agent loadouts eventually, right? So a variety of guns, obviously pistols, SMGs, rifles, sniper rifles, all that kind of stuff. Gentlemen, what kind of stuck out with you on the gunplay and the recoil, and specifically kind of, first off, general feel, and then as you look at it towards how Counter-Strike plays?
I felt, first and foremost, I felt that the recoil was way more forgiving than in CS. I was pulling down my crosshair like I would in CS to control the recoil, and I was pulling down way too much and way too fast. And I was shooting at the waist because the recoil doesn't go up as high, and it doesn't bloom as much as it does in CS. So that was taking a little bit of adjustment, and you'll probably see that in some of the clips that we show. So I feel like it's a little more friendly and a little more forgiving with that. So it'll be easier, I think, to sort of master. I don't know. What do you think, Jason?
I thought first bullet accuracy was really good. Anytime
absolutely.
I fucked up on my first shot, it was because I did a little strafe. One of the things they've added is like if you do like AD strafing or SD, depending.
Mine's left arrow key, right arrow key.
Yeah, great. But like if you do strafing, they've randomized the recoil, so you can't master the recoil during those abilities. But overall, it felt a lot like Counter-Strike, and felt rewarding. It felt like I never felt like either I died instantly or it felt like I fucked up a firefight. Like, oh, I just started firing just a little bit. The recoil, I do feel like it does get out of control a little bit. Like if you're trying to burst fire, after you burst fire a couple times, where the recoil really starts going crazy seems different than Counter-Strike. But just slightly per gun. I think it takes a little bit of learning. But if you are good at Counter-Strike weapons right now, I think you could walk in and just do just fine.
What I really liked about these guns is that a lot of them have the alternative fire, which is, ADSing, and the recoil actually follows your crosshair. So you don't have to pull your crosshair down and have the bullets fire above the recoil or above the crosshair. Your crosshair will go with the recoil, and your bullets will hit the crosshair directly in the center. And so all you have to do is keep the crosshair on the head while controlling the recoil, and you've got a headshot. So it's less guesswork with the ADS. But again, there is some drawbacks. Some of the guns fire slower. Some of them are burst round if you go ADS instead of no ADS. So there are some drawbacks, and that's sort of some of the things that you have to learn when you pick up this game.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and I noticed that as well. That the way that recoil worked, I was like, oh, it's not skipping outside of my crosshair; it's moving the crosshair with the recoil. And I was like, oh, that's a little different.
One of our chatters asked.
Oh,
sorry. Just because we're on the topic of crosshairs, one of our chatter asked if the crosshairs are customizable, and they absolutely are. There's so many different options you can do. It's like diabolical. So you can do whatever you want with them.
Well, not quite like diabolical. But
all right, maybe I got a little sensational then.
It's pretty robust, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, it is. Yes, for sure.
Between dots and borders, and yeah, you can definitely tweak to your heart's content. More similar to what Counter-Strike just put in their system versus what used to be a third-party tool, I would say. But yeah, Jason, you had something?
Oh yeah, so like I'm looking at the gun right now. It's like the Bulldog, which is almost like the FAMAS. Like when I had to buy that rifle because I didn't have that much money, I never really felt at a huge disadvantage. Like that, all the guns for the most part felt like they had their place, and then some positions, some guns were better. Like this is like this gun. I didn't even see what the name of this gun is. It was a Guardian or something.
It's the Guardian.
Yeah, it's like an M1 Grand. It's like a Call of Duty gun. It's
a one-shot kill.
Like, yeah, it's nothing like Counter-Strike type of gun, but it's fun. It is fun. It's very rewarding if you hit your shots. If you miss, well, you suck.
Yeah, if you're a tapper, if you're a Scream or I think a Nico or a Rain, you're going to be getting a lot of kills with this gun, and it's going to be rewarding.
I
don't know what gun
thing...
Shazam was using, but he destroyed me with whatever gun he was using.
Yeah.
I played against Shazam. Holy shit. Yeah, that was painful.
So one of the
it showed
really
me that Counter-Strike game works well.
Right. Yeah, Counter-Strike game definitely works well. But one of the interesting things is this gun here and the Vandal are the same price, and they do the same damage. They have a little bit different usage, but it's kind of interesting that they did that in the game to kind of balance them that way. It's kind of almost what you wanted out of Counter-Strike in some ways.
Yeah. Chat brings up a question again. In Counter-Strike, we've obviously got guns that just, at least on the pro scene, never, ever get purchased, right? They get skipped right over. I know limited playtime, work in progress. Did you in chat, are there just any guns that you would just pass right over, you would never pick? Anything that was a dog to you?
The shorty I didn't use ever because it's a pistol round. It's a pistol basically. It's like a sawed-off shotgun that you can buy.
Okay.
But the spread. It was very, very large. It was only useful at close ranges. You had to get in real tight in order to have it be serviceable for you. So unless you have somebody like Jet, which was just announced, which has the ability to speed forward or speed left, there's really no way to get in close unless you're using utility properly. So I really didn't buy too much.
Got you. And now we're getting into the sniper rifles, right?
Machine guns. I never used the guns that they have.
I didn't use the machine guns.
Like, I don't even know why. There was a guy that would use one. One of the Riot employees was using it all the time, and I just shot that noob in his face.
Shout outs to Riot. We're now in the sniper rifle. Is the operator the op? Is that the translation here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Clever naming convention there.
Yeah,
something I wanted to bring up. This is beautiful timing. So when you are not scoped in with sniper rifles, you have a crosshair. So no scoping is a lot easier. It's unlike Counter-Strike. You're able to aim properly.
1.3.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's
a really interesting. Yeah, it's a really interesting addition and change from Counter-Strike is the fact that you're able to see where your bullet's going to go for the most part while unscoped.
Gotcha. In chat, someone had a question about like loadouts. Do your loadouts stay? Do you preset your loadout? There are no real loadouts in like a Call of Duty class-based kind of game. Think more like Counter-Strike. Every round, you look at your money and you buy more utility. Can you pause right here for a second, Ian? Not Ian. Daniel, by chance? Oh,
on the buy menu?
I want to get on that. Yeah, go buy menu. Perfect. So this shows up. When you're at your spawn. You hit B for buy. This pops up, right? And it's kind of, up in the left-hand corner, tells you your money and all that kind of stuff. It tells you what you already own. If it's highlighted, the sheriff and the areas is what he's already got. And then down below, he's already bought his abilities, so to speak. Those are what's down below. The snake bite, the poison cloud, the toxic screen, those cost money to use, right? Like you were buying you're buying a flash, like you're buying a utility. And then the far right one, that Viper Pit Ultimate is what he charges up as he's playing the game, right? But there is no set loadout. Every round you look at it, you go, I'm going to buy, I'm going to save. We were doing save rounds like you do in Counter-Strike. I was fucking that up and buying when I shouldn't, like I used to do in Counter-Strike. Very similar. And then there's also another really unique mechanic. I didn't mess with it much, and I don't know the exact nuances of it, and maybe one of you guys did it. You can sell a weapon back to the system, right? If you want to upgrade, how does that work?
As far as I can tell, you can only sell a gun if you haven't killed somebody with it.
I was able to sell guns without having to kill anybody.
Yeah, because every once in a while it grays out, and I don't know why. And I don't know if that was a bug. That could have been a complete bug. So maybe you can sell weapons at all times. That's great.
Because that would make sense.
I was able to, because if you misbuy and you're like, shit, I didn't want to buy that. It's so awesome to be able to just sell it right away and buy back. And I think you don't lose any money either. I think everything's
like a
one for
one-to-one?
one. If you buy it and
Yeah,
sell.
and
So
it's great. Like
it's
in
really nice.
Yeah. Because think about Counter-Strike, right? If you're, maybe not so much nowadays, but back in the day, you would go pistol to MP5, MP5 to full gun round, right? That was kind of your progression. And you'd hold on to that MP5 or whatever until you kind of lost or you needed to upgrade. But now you can ditch that MP5, get some money back on your upgrade, right? You're not stuck with the gun, nor are you stuck just dropping it to upgrade, right? It's a little money back in the system.
And I did
how that
not
plays
do
out.
that at all because I forgot the entire time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
to see how the
I
upgrade-
often just bought and like threw my weapon on the ground because I forgot about the selling thing. It just
For sure.
Because again, I think what we all love about Counter-Strike, and I think what a lot of old school Counter-Strike fans in general love, is that it's not just a shooter. There's that layer of economy. There's a layer of management as a team to manage your money properly, to not fuck yourself, to save all those things, right? So this tweaks that a little bit, right? So it'll be very interesting how the meta and how like the economy of this game, settles in when you've got this added. Like, oh, and you can get some money back for you or your teammates. Oh, I've got this gun, I'll sell it. Buy you this gun, because you can also very, very cool system to request a gun, right? In Counter-Strike, you're like, someone drop me, you're typing or whatever. This game, I can hover over the gun I want. I can suggest that I need it. It'll send a message to my teammates. Jason in his menu can buy it for me, and it shows up in my hand. So no me having or Jason having to buy it. Drop it to me, drop his gun, buy a gun, drop to me. Very, very seamless. Like, here's your gun, Scott. So that, just again, I think one thing that we didn't talk about yet that a lot of us know is obviously Sal Garrazzo, Volcano, is one of the senior developers of this fucking game, right? And he is taking everything he loves about Counter-Strike, probably everything that he wished he could change about Counter-Strike, and he's using this game to kind of do it, Jason, you had mentioned that Valve kind of fucked up on this one. How you want to go into that one a little bit?
Oh, so two different things. One, we'll get into details of the economy system when we get into a game. We'll break that down for you guys. Two, I think Valve absolutely fucked up by not getting Sal, because Sal understands the game at a competitive level and understands the little nuances that make things exciting versus frustrating, and understands what's the difference between random and fun RNG. He really understands it, and he's a good map maker. Not even just game balance alone, he's a good map maker. I thought a lot of the fights that I was experiencing in the game was fun, and I was having a good time playing. So
yeah, I mean, Sal, and obviously Sal's not alone, big crew, but go ahead, Anthony.
Like
I think what Riot did, what did correctly with this, is they got into the trenches this time. I mean, look what they're doing with their PR work, and look what they did with hiring a former Team 3D. He was in Team 3D, right? Volcano, if I'm not mistaken.
Team
3D. Former Team 3D pro. I mean, it's like they know their audience, and they know what they need to do to appease their audience. So it's really it's smart. I think what they're doing is really. It's really intelligent.
This is a classic old school. There's Sal.
Oh, God.
Oh my God,
jeez. He's like 15 years old, and this is like 270p. So excuse it. But I got a bonus clip at the end of this. So
is that Shag? Holy shit!
Yeah, that's Shag. That's Fat Shagwire, which is a rare occurrence.
This is so old.
We're all still waiting for Final Reality 2.
Hey, whoa!
Hey, whoa!
That good-looking guy. Hey, look at that sexy beast.
Oh, that's me standing right next to you.
Oh, wait.
Did you just pull that out of his pocket?
Yeah. I did pull it out of my pocket, yeah.
Did you pull the bat out of your pocket?
The do not peek back. Long live UGP, baby.
All right. That's 2002.
That's funny.
I had hair. The do not peek holster now.
Yeah. And since I went to the office to grab some stuff, when no one was around, I grabbed the bat just in case.
Nice.
So how perfect is that?
Nice.
Still have the bat.
Hey.
Anyway, so long story short, Sal is a pedigree Counter-Strike pro, pedigree map designer for Counter-Strike, applied to work for Valve. Valve said no thanks. Riot scooped that guy's ass up years ago. I mean, he's been at Riot for years working on this with the crew. And, obviously Riot's gain is Valve's loss. But again, I think that's why, in a lot of ways, this game feels kind of good to Counter-Strikers, right? Sal made sure that it feels good. I don't think it's going to be a killer. I don't think it's going to kill my favorite game. It'll take some players. It'll take some viewers. But it is definitely different enough than our favorite game that I think it's fine. I think what Riot has going for it, regardless of their management structure and all the issues they've had with corporate, they own the number one game on the planet, League of Legends. They have the largest distribution platform for the number one game on the planet. So they're going to jam this game right into that platform and that pipeline. It will be the world's most popular FPS very quickly once it's out. I have no doubt. And even right now, it plays good enough, right? And so who knows what they'll do till then. So yeah, shout outs to Sal. Sal was great. Now let's get into. Well, actually, let me ask you, Jason. Since we're kind of doing this on the cuff, do you want to get into the agents talk, or do you want to do our first interview? What do you want to do?
Let's do.
We are running a little late.
Yeah, let's just bring Frankie on and find out what she thinks, and then she can stay with us as we talk about agents if we need to, and then we can even talk about gameplay. So I'm fine just rolling along.
Cool. Beautiful. Yeah, sorry. I know I've been pontificating a little bit, so we're a little. But we can be here all day. Drops all day. There he is.
Hey!
Hey, Frankie.
Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys.
That
How are
smile. Great. The smile and the curly hair. If you don't know this young woman, this is Frankie Ward, host extraordinaire, used to work for Twitch, used to work for BBC, streamer herself, aspiring Counter-Strike pro, does it all, jumps into every game, does whatever, renovating a house right now, staying at home, probably lost a good chunk of her work because she is also a freelancer. Very lucky to have her. Are you streaming as well, Frankie? You're streaming too, right?
I have been streaming, yeah. I've been trying to make it work by playing Counter-Strike, but it's hard to lose so many games publicly and keep up that energy. After 4 hours, you feel a little bit low, but yeah, I feel good.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
It's a soul-crushing profession.
Yeah, that's one reason
really
I never really streamed
hard.
too much Counter-Strike. It's hard. Yeah.
It's
no fun.
And also the problem is streaming means that I can't watch games because I need to play them. But so I'm missing stuff that I want to watch, but at the same time, also a freelancer, by the way, as you referred to. So it's been fun so far. But I have FOMO. I have serious FOMO, guys. I was meant to be able to doing EPL, and I'm sadly not. So
Yeah, very unfortunate. We are lucky to have you. You did play the weekend as well, the Valorant weekend. So we wanted to get your impressions. We got DDK a little later, another Counter-Strike guy. Initial thoughts, Frankie, like just right off the top of your head, what'd you think of the game?
I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at how polished it was. I shouldn't be, because I think that Riot have been planning this for a very, very long time, and they've got really good people on board to do it. But I couldn't blame my failures on the performance of the game, and it was slightly annoying.
That's exactly what Jason said.
No, because the problem is
or you just blamed me.
Player. Yeah, well, first of all, half the problems was Anthony. The other part was they don't have left-handed player gun models, so it was screwed me up completely every time.
Yeah, that was it. The
I'm
left-handed
I'm
player.
Let's get into some nitty-gritty about it. We're going to play a quick little agents video that you can see as well, and let's talk about some of the agents you all played and your thoughts on the agents. And then I'm going to ask you, Frankie, a little about the guns that we already talked about in a minute. So again, little agent, 9 current playable agents, I believe. With the addition of Breach that the public didn't really know about till today. I think it was 8 in the public eye. Now we have Breach. They do plan for many, many more. I didn't ask anyone, but I think their plan is that tons of agents, so they might even get to not necessarily the MOBA level, but closer to the MOBA level of champions, heroes, etc. So maybe even pregame there's a pick ban phase on this kind of stuff. I know the plan is lots of agents, right? Because that's how you keep a free-to-play game going. You dangle these agents, you dangle skins, you dangle these other things to monetize. So initial thoughts on the agents, guys. I played Breach once. I played Phoenix once. But again, I was still trying to kind of learn them as I played them, so I don't really have much. I played Breach completely wrong the whole time I played him. Don't feel good about it. But what do you, Frankie, starting with you, favorite agent so far? And I know, work in progress.
So I played Breach, I Bloomin released a blog and I think I called him Brimstone the whole way through. I didn't actually play Brimstone. I played Breach, I played Jet, I played Phoenix, and I
Yes,
played
they look way
Sova
too
and
much
Volta.
alike.
Yeah, so I messed up. Sorry. Whoops. Right. I'm never gonna get to host this game, am I? Okay, so I really liked Phoenix and I really liked Jet. Jet because I think her abilities don't get in the way of the combat. And that was the problem I had at first, where I was fiddling too much with the abilities, focusing too much on those.
Yep.
And with Jet, it's very simple. Jump on some boxes, then you can peek people, you can dash across, you can then peek another person because they don't know that you've sort of done a mini rotation. So for me, Jet was really fun. And then Phoenix was really fun just because he's a Londoner, so I quite like that. And I couldn't flash for, I was going to say a rude word then, but I won't. I couldn't flash for anything. For love, no money. I tried and I just kept flashing myself, which was a thrill. But I did like his wall of fire and I did like blocking people off. So for me, those two were like much more pure in terms of just going for pure combat and setting yourselves up to succeed. Whereas with Breach, as I now know he's called, I just would get caught out trying to help my teammates, trying to throw down earthquakes and whatnot. So for me, it didn't work so well. And then Viper, I'll just quickly say, didn't know how to use her when I first played her. Then the devs taught us how to use her. And then I was like, oh, she's good. She's good for defense. So I kind of like her now. But I'm a Jet main, guys. I'm a Jet main.
Jet
I
main pro.
empathize with that so much, Frankie. When I used Omen and Viper, I used Viper my very first match, and I was clunky as hell. You know, I was like tripping over my own feet trying to use her. Same thing with Omen. Omen's abilities are they are just you need to feel comfortable with that character in order to use him properly. He's like a Reaper in Overwatch, which, by the way, we're gonna get to because I have a lot of opinions about how much Overwatch was ripped off of with this game. But I feel like, yeah, you have to like sit in a training arena and just use these abilities for, 30 minutes to an hour in order to feel comfortable with them before hopping into a game, because you're going to be wasting too much time, figuring stuff out and not fragging and helping your team with these.
I'm gonna go with
Jason. Anything you want to chime?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. Go ahead, Frankie first. Frankie first.
I'm so sorry. I also played Sova, right? And there's one thing that I had an issue with. I took issue with, which is his recon dart. There's a one moment, for example, when I used I was about to call it the dig, then the sheriff, and I got a clean hit on the recon dart as soon as it came into the A site on the 3-lane map, right? And I shot it and still got reconned. And I think that if you shoot it before the sort of reconnaissance web digital thing comes towards you, I don't think you should be seen. So I'm pretty sure I was still seen even though I took it out, and I think that's broken. Personally, I think that needs sorting.
Yeah, because I thought they did say that if you destroyed that before it activated, it wouldn't work, right? So yeah.
I still got a thing on my screen saying I've been seen.
Yeah, I think it's close.
Gotcha.
I think it's very close. So I played Phoenix a bunch, and I flash myself constantly. Like it's not right, because I'm expecting Counter-Strike of how far a flashbang throws. No, it's just like right around the corner.
Really short.
It's like
really
right around the
short.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah, like
really
if you
short.
get flashbang, just start shooting your gun because you're gonna kill somebody, because it's really short. And then I use Sova a lot. The fact that you can bounce those arrows around corners and you can do some really neat, just kind of little tricks is great. Most frustrating thing for me was, like, it has this one ability, like this AoE shock, and it's only $100 for this ability. And I had two guys sitting in a corner hiding, and I knew they were there. I had them pinned down. Didn't even think to use my ability. And like that kept me up at night. It still keeps me up. I still think, like, the abilities clunky. I think Frankie has it completely. All the abilities as a Counter-Strike player feel clunky. Even as an Overwatch player, it feels clunky. But Jet feels like it's part of her kit. Like you're just playing a character that has these extra abilities. Where everybody else is, oh, I'm going to put my gun away. I'm going to pull out my bow and arrow. I'm going to wait 20 minutes to pull the string back because I have weak arms or some bullshit. It's just, it's forever. Hey, Daniel, you want to throw some gameplay on the screen? It would be nice. I'm sure people would like to see some gameplay.
I think why Jet is more natural
Montage.
feeling for Counter-Strike players is because it's movement based. You know, Jet's abilities aren't, I mean, they're supernatural, but they're not supernatural in the fact that you're pulling something out and throwing it and creating something. You're moving faster than you normally would. And that's what's probably more reassuring and comfortable for Counter-Strike players is that it's you're not using anything outside of, you know, what's within your own confined body to get an advantage, I guess is the best way to put it. So
Yeah,
I think
that makes
that's why I think Jet will be definitely a character that gets used a lot in the beginning and maybe even become meta for people.
Yeah, it seemed like it. There were a lot of Jets, at least in the weekend. But you know, a lot of people figuring out what's good, what's bad. Again, I played Breach my very first game. Had literally no idea. I was trying to throw flashes, didn't realize that his flashes actually go through a wall and then they activate. So I was like, oh, what's this interface? This is weird. So I'm like trying to bounce him like down a corridor. Like, oh, I'll bounce it and then take the corner. But I'm literally throwing the flash through that wall and then like dry peeking fucking Shazam. Didn't work out well for me at all. Although I did kill Lex once, but then I got killed by Pokemon like 5 times, so it was a bad day. Okay,
Wow.
Frankie, I know. Hey, Pokemon
Wouldn't have admitted that on air, Scott.
But it was no. Hey, my very first kill against Lex is all that matters. I killed Lex. Although I killed Lex with a weird Riot username of like Q57254, so I couldn't even like boast him because it wasn't under Sir Scoots. Frankie, question for you, Counter-Strike related. You've been playing a lot of it lately. Obviously, you've been playing a lot last couple years. How does the gameplay itself feel to you now that you know round-based, all those kind of things, economy, Counter-Strike to Valorant so far for you?
I think the crossover is really, really clear from the map design to the gunplay itself. So for me, obviously, your Sheriff is your Deagle, your Vandal is your AK. The ADS thing, though, I've got this horrible habit from playing way too much Krieg where I kept right-clicking to use ADS, and actually I didn't like using the ADS on those guns that didn't need it. I felt like it actually made me less accurate with the guns. But, you know, there's no like latency. You fire a shot and you get it. So you have to be super accurate. This ain't Silver 2 or Silver 3, which I'm used to. I often died. So if I didn't use my abilities was to get myself into a better position, then yeah, I was probably going to lose the fight because I wasn't quick enough. But it does feel very, very satisfying in terms of gunplay. And I think that people who play CS are going to pick this up really easily because of that. But I did think it was quite confusing for people who played, I guess, faster kind of run and gun games, like people who play Call of Duty, even people who play Rainbow Six. I think it's going to be quite alien to them at first. It's very different to Overwatch in terms of the gunplay. So I really enjoyed it. And then I was watching all my footage back and I was going, why is your crosshair at the ground? Why is your crosshair at the ground? I was just really embarrassed watching myself back. I was so angry at myself.
Yeah. So anything that, I know, work in progress, so hard to have anything you hate or dislike because we all kind of caveat our opinions on these kind of things. Anything that stood out, like other than what you talked about the arrow, that might be a glitch or needs to be fixed. Anything that jumped out that you went, nope, get rid of this. This is terrible. Doesn't belong here. Whether it's the teleporters, the 3 bomb site map, anything that you jumped out and went, nope, D+ on this one.
I think that the 3 bomb site map at the moment is too hard to defend. At the moment,
Absolutely.
maybe I just think that maybe it would be good to have something that helps you a little bit more, especially on defending the B site. I think the fact that it's a 5v5, it's not 6v6, does mean you have to make some difficult decisions. But I found that, personally, I found that really hard. But then again, the whole point of these maps is that you can spend, 10,000 hours on them and still come up with new stuff. So maybe that's just me moaning because I'm not high skilled enough. I'm a 200 IQ nade player. I'm not a big brain of CS. So let alone Valorant. So this game has no nades, but I'm still watching it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that for me was kind of interesting. And also, to be honest, on the map with the 2 teleporters, I'm so sorry, guys. I should have remembered what the names were. I could have just written them down.
Fine.
Thank you.
Fine. I had to write it down because they look very similar.
Yeah. It's very easy for the enemy to take control of spawn and run behind you. And again, that's probably because you've got to be better at defending. But it was frustrating to me how quickly I could just get camped in my own spawn. And I was thinking I should have the advantage here. I should be able to rotate behind these two sites and run with my knife out. And I got caught out quite a few times. And maybe that's just because of a pacing thing with my own team, and not all the time. I didn't always have people on voice comms with me, so that could be quite frustrating. And you don't know callouts because there aren't any yet. So the best you can do is like long C or something like that. But I found that really hard.
So on the on the second day, I'm sorry, Scott. On the second day, you had a lot of Riot people coming in. Oh, sorry, Scott. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. So on the second day, you had lots of Riot people start joining the test, and they had their own call outs, and they'd call out stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, there was no education process. So hopefully that expands.
Yeah, and that all goes away once the masses are playing it, right? You know, things get defined and named, and everyone starts doing it. Now, that leads me right to my next question for you, Frankie. Obviously, broadcast professional, on-air talent extraordinaire. You've done your share of behind-the-scenes stuff as well. Now, put your Frankie on a stage cap on for a minute. What do you think about this game in esports, in the sense of like being a competitive title, and you know, is it going to hurt Counter-Strike? Is it just going to sit next to it? Is it going to hurt Overwatch, sit next to it? Is it going to find its own place? Are we all fucked? What's your thoughts on it? And how do you think it's going to be as a and how do you feel it's going to be as a broadcast game? Like, will it be entertaining? Does it esport, as Jason and I would say? I
think that something that we discussed that could be an issue, like the abilities feeling clunky, is actually going to help Valorant in a way, because it's going to be slower paced than Overwatch, because you can only buy up to 2 of your your Q, not your E, but 2 of your abilities anyway, right? You can buy up to 2 of those. So therefore, except for certain heroes like Viper, ignore me. Basically, there's a limit to what you can have, what you can use. There's no cooldowns. That's what I'm trying to say. It's fine. Don't judge me. Anyway, I think that that's going to slow the pace down, and that's going to make it easier for the viewers to watch. And I think that a flashbang is obviously a flashbang. You do not need someone to explain to you what's happening there. Jet's ult, for example, throwing knives, which I couldn't throw for love nor money. That's very obvious what that is. It's not going to be a series of 4 Overwatch players are currently using their ult, and I have no idea what's going on. And I don't think it's going to be the GOAT's meta. So I think that it's actually going to be a lot easier to draw in viewers. And I do think that if any viewers are frustrated with Overwatch, then Valorant's going to appeal to them, and it's going to benefit Counter-Strike, because you're going to see this gunplay and you're going to see these maps, and then people are going to go, oh, you like Valorant, you liked Overwatch, why don't you come and watch CS? Valorant's not on right now. Oh, great. Well, there's this game called Counter-Strike, and there's constant tournaments. Well, why don't you check that out? So I think actually it could kind of help people get into CS. I don't think it's going to draw the CS audience away, because I think if you're a CS lover, you're a CS lover. You're not going to be put off by it, because CS as a game is amazing. It's hard to play when you're constantly confronted by Smurfs, or every time a crate's released and people are farming, and hey, you win deathmatch and you can't even be happy about it because you just shot a load of people spinning on the spot. But it's it's going to be a good. I think this is actually a good thing for Counter-Strike, as weird as that sounds.
Well, yeah, and we've talked about that if nothing else, this maybe gives Valve a little little push to keep an eye on Counter-Strike, keep it fresh, like they've been kind of doing, but now they've got maybe someone that's going to kind of come right at them a little bit more audience-wise. We'll see. I felt it played different enough. I don't think any hardcores. I think a lot of people play both. I think we're also very lucky in Counter-Strike that we do have a shitload of fans that watch our game that literally stopped playing it years ago. They're not going to stop watching it because a new game is playable, right? So yeah, it's very interesting, and I definitely think it's esport ready in that sense. Like Jason and I have talked about for years how by accident the round-based system that Gooseman and Cliff put in, where the tension resets a little bit, everyone resets, casters have time to talk at a buy time, and then it starts again, then it resets. They didn't do that thinking that the play-by-play in color needed 45 seconds to wrap up what's going on and reset. But it works out perfect as a sport, right? This is just like that, right? You've got an overarch anticipation of the match building, but every round stops, everyone goes home, resets, gives casters time to reset the story, and away they go again. So I think in some regards, it'll broadcast very similar to Counter-Strike. And Jason, I know you were asking them about spectator tools, but other than when you die and you're spectating your teammates, no tools in place yet. Is that accurate?
That is correct. I talked to them about it. They're still work in progress. Same with some API stuff and a lot of other great things that we are used to in Counter-Strike. So hopefully by the time it's out of beta or they first have a first tournament, they'll have a working version. There's a few different things that I've talked to people about. They're like, oh yeah, that's on our build. That works on our build, but it doesn't work yet. So hopefully soon.
I also got some information on the demo system and the replay system to go hand in hand with that. So there is no demo and replay system right now. And in addition to what Jason said, they're working on it for a future build. It's definitely on their list. I don't know where it is with regards to priorities, but they're going to include it. So that's good for people who want to maybe relook at how they played and learn from their mistakes, or study up on a team, or even for the movie making community. So Riot knows what they're doing, and they're gonna treat us right.
Yeah, and the only thing that makes me a little nervous, and obviously it's a different team that runs this game versus League of Legends, but it took League of Legends forever to give us those kind of tools, right, for the audience, like years. So hopefully they've learned that lesson, and with Sal there going, no, like, we need to launch with some tools, right? Because again, like, it's for content creators, for live streamers, like you need spectator tools, you need good ones. So hopefully they've looked at GoTV and made a cracked version of that, so to speak, or on crack, I should say, because that's a good tool in its own right. All right, Frankie, you've been hired by Riot. You could change 3 things so far that you've messed with Valorant. What are you going to change?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna change that Sober Recon arrow because it is OP.
Hates it. I'll sleep over that arrow.
Yeah. What else? I am going to. Oh, there's 2 guns. The Vandal and I can't remember the second one. They're the same price. I think that's a bit weird.
Phantom.
Phantom, yeah. There's no Krieg, guys. There's no Krieg equivalent. I want to put one of those.
You shut up. Get her off the call right now. She's going.
Wherever they run, I will find them.
Damn you, Frankie.
What are you overwatching on us?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, Frankie.
Am I out?
All right, well, that's it. No Krieg. Come on. We're trying to get rid of it. Well, only Valorant can have the Krieg if Counter-Strike gives them their Krieg. That's the only way this will work out for me. You got to get rid of it in Counter-Strike if you want it in Valorant. You can't have it in both. It's too OP. That's the last question I kind of have. Jason, Anthony, you got any questions for Frankie before we let her get back to her content creation?
I do not. I had Daniel talking to me too, so I missed it. I do not. So what's next for Frankie? Are you just still sitting around streaming, or what's going on?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to learn to cast, aren't I? Well, I don't know. I'm hoping I can make some more content around some CS events in the future. So hopefully maybe TOs will let me do that or ask me to do that. I am doing a blast show, if I'm allowed to shamelessly self-promote. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
So,
please.
Thank you. So on Mondays, it is 8 until 10 p.m. Central European time. I'm doing a show called The Clinic, which is... It's basically a 2-hour show with a couple of players, maybe from the same CS team, maybe from different CS teams. And it's kind of seeing how well they know each other. So we do some quizzes and things like that. But then we're also going to try and solve problems. I know this sounds really weird. So the community obviously sometimes posts their problems in HLTV. And I did a couple of forums called a couple of videos called Dear HLTV a while back. And I get asked to do more of them. So I'm like, well, fine. If you want me and some professional players to solve your CS issues or personal things and things like that, then, drop us a message. I don't know if anyone's going to do that, but I also will be going through the forums as well, maybe to pluck a couple of things out. But last episode ended with me voice messaging Nico in Serbia, not realizing that I told him I loved him. So thank you to Hunter from GT. I can never interview Nico again. So yeah, it's fun. We do find out more. If you want to see that, you can check out my tank videos on Instagram. But yeah, so basically we have a bit of fun with the players. We do talk, of course, we talk about CS. We talk a lot about them. So it's kind of a way to see them in a different light. talk about CS, but then also talk about some other things as well as how we're coping with the quarantine and with social isolation. So we basically want to be there for the community. So it's not heavy. It is very funny, I think, in places, normally at my expense. So please do come hang out on Monday nights.
Well, and it's a really nice shift from Blast too. Like obviously, Blast also affected by the orders to close everything down. They've had to reschedule their events, postpone their events. But I think they've done a really great job of scrambling with their talent, like you, Banks, other people, and they're making some fresh content, right? In this kind of while we're all at home stage, and that's great because we all got time to watch stuff. So that's great that they're doing that. I know some of that was probably already planned, and it was maybe going to be a higher production value and be done at the events. But it's nice to see them scrambling, at least kind of providing content and hopefully giving you a little bit of a paycheck and those like you in this downtime. Hopefully you're not doing it for free, Frankie, for exposure. Working for Blast for exposure, not a good idea.
I'm getting paid for this one, which is nice. I've had chats with other people about doing some content for them, and then they've been like, how much? And I'm like, well, I need some money. I don't want my day rate, but can I have some money for like working and doing this? I think there's a thing where people think, oh, you're just working for the hour that you're on stream, but actually there is more to it than that. So hopefully people approach me. I'm not that expensive, I promise, and I work hard. I'm now using this to sell myself. I'm so sorry, everyone. Good luck with your drops.
Well, we're going to claim royalties if you make any money off of this stream.
By the way, as Jason used to like to say.
And she'll dress up as a shark or whatever you need.
She will,
I have
literally.
Costume. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it, man.
And, now you tell us. We could have had you in a shark costume this full
interview. Guitar.
We blew it. We blew it. All right, Frankie. Well, thank you very much for taking out time out of your embargo day to come chat with us. We will definitely see you when the closed beta opens up. Maybe we'll get some matches in with you. Good luck with your renovations. Good luck with your stay at home. Stay safe. You and your man. Please stay safe. I'm sorry you're not traveling. I'm sorry that you've lost jobs, but at least you're home safe. That's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Exactly. Loads of people worse off than me. So thank you so much for having me, guys. Enjoy. Stay safe yourselves.
All right.
Thanks for joining, Frankie.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Yeah, that's great.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That is awesome stuff, Frankie. She's just a peach. I want to see her mad at somebody once, not me, just mad at somebody. Does she smile when she's yelling? Like she's just got this bubbly niceness.
She's probably scary when she's yelling and smiling.
Probably really scary.
Right? Yeah, it's like that weird psycho look in her eye.
I've never seen her mad, but like when things were going really bad during one of the Blast rehearsals, she would just laugh. And it's like, that's what you want. Like Scott doesn't do that. I don't do that. Daniel doesn't do that.
Dude,
like
yesterday during rehearsals, I was the nicest guy ever during my tech issues. I was not mad at all last night at midnight. What are you talking about?
Bullshit.
You, hey, Daniel, how are you? All right, let's move on. I'm looking at my run of show that's gone to shit. All right, let's go.
Let's look at Anthony's match.
Yeah,
so we gotta look at Anthony's match.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
let's make fun of some of the stupid shit I did.
Yeah, so Anthony and Jason both recorded like full matches during the weekend, right? So we're gonna several of those queued up throughout the day that we're gonna chat over. But we wanted you guys to see not just kind of montage play, but kind of a match play. So we're gonna fire off Anthony's first one. Anthony, do you remember which? Well, we'll find out in a second. Do you know what
this is Omen
played on this one?
Yeah, this is Omen. This is what I call the Reaper ripoff. He pretty much has a lot of abilities that Reaper has, if you ask me. He is a stealth. I guess he is kind of stealthy and a disruptor. Some of his abilities, obviously, he has, like every character in this game, they have a visibility reduction skill, which is it's like a smoke grenade. Every character has one, but they just reskinned it to fit the theme of that character. So this one is it's like this black orb that reduces visibility, and if you walk in it, I think it affects your vision. Then he also has this paranoia ability where he fires this wave of dark material that sort of confuses you. And then he has two teleportation abilities. One is just a regular ability where it's a short distance teleportation, and one's a long distance teleportation. So he's a disruptor, and he's also he's the kind of guy that gets behind enemy lines and again disrupts. So I wasn't, if I remember correctly, this was like my second match. I played with this with Jason, and I wasn't able to really utilize.
Watch
his
him bait me
abilities
here. Watch
too
me.
well. No. Okay. See, do you see what I'm doing? I'm setting you up. Look where my dark
His
orb
tw-
shows
his-
up. I blocked
It would
Heaven,
appear to me that
blocked
you,
Heaven,
you
blocked
went. I think
attack
you
of
went
sight.
early. It would
And
appear to
all
me-
Jason does is dry peek
saying.
like a noob. I
Just
feel like I'm
saying.
playing with the silver. I'm playing with the silver 3 that then blames the better person for him dying.
Not
That's
gonna
exactly
go well
what Jason
today.
did.
This is
I-
not.
when-
gonna
when
go
was
well.
the- when was the I'm gonna flash
weekend
for
was
you?
like
I'm
this.
gonna smoke nothing. Just
Entire
all right,
weekend
right,
was Jason
let's
bitching
take this.
because he died.
Well,
Watch me
this is-
clutch, by the way. 3K
Chat,
on the
I just-
pistol round, and I clutch.
Chat, I would just like to point out this is Daniel and I's daily life between Jason and Anthony. This is what we get to hear every
this is
day.
my living hell. I'm just letting you know.
So anyway, I win the match, and
Okay.
Jason has.
Yeah. So a couple of basics why we're sitting in a match. It is 12 round sides, right? Old school Counter-Strike rules, right?
Yep.
Right? It's 12 a side, and you flip. So again, much like Counter-Strike, you play the attacking side, you play the defending side. Much like Counter-Strike, there is a bomb device. It's called the spike in Valorant. Your job is to plant the spike and or defuse the spike if you're on the defensive team. So again, very, very similar in so many ways to Counter-Strike, gameplay-wise. And Jason, you're in this match too. What character were you playing, or agent are you playing?
I was
Doesn't
playing
matter. He didn't do
the
anything.
bow and arrow. Fuck you. I was playing the bow and arrow dude. What's this? Sova. I was playing Sova.
Okay, Sova.
I played him
That's
a lot.
the Hanzo.
lot.
That's the Hanzo kind of one.
The Hanzo guy. Yeah.
Hanzo. Yep. Okay.
Yep. I can give you a quick rundown on money too, because some people are asking about economy stuff.
Yeah, let's do that while we're watching.
This is anti-eco real quick. So you get 800 start money. You get 400 per kill, 300 for a spike plant, 3,000 for a round win, 1,900 for a loss, and then you get on top of that. If you lose 2 in a row, you get an extra 500. If you lose 3 in a row, you get 1,000 extra bonus, and that's the max. So there's no, it doesn't keep going up after. That's the most you will get extra. That was great.
That was great.
Yeah,
so again,
that's the short range teleportation. I was trying to.
Yeah. So very similar to Counter-Strike in that there is kind of an inherent comeback mechanic built in for the losing side to get a little bit extra funds to try to help them turn the tide. One thing I noticed that was when it comes to the money system that was other than what things cost and like the actual amount of the bonuses, the one thing that is dramatically different from Counter-Strike is every kill in Valorant gives you the same amount of reward money no matter what gun you used to do said kill. Whereas in Counter-Strike, as you know, that's different. You kill someone with an AWP, it's X amount of money. You kill someone with a pistol. It's not generic across all gun play, right? Thoughts on that? Should it be specific? Should it not be? Does it matter?
Nah, I never liked that. I never liked that in Go.
I think it does matter because it's obviously a lot harder to kill somebody with, I don't know, let's say a pistol or that shorty shotgun, which is a very short handle.
Let's send one guy to fake A.
Yeah. So
I think there should be some cheat opinion.
Anthony, you're lagging out.
okay. So Anthony's point was that maybe there should be a slight difference because some guns are again kind of like Counter-Strike. The harder guns to wield can often give you more money. I haven't paid much attention to how that is currently with Counter-Strike, with like which guns give out which month, but it's just generic here. So at least for a caster or the broadcast side of it or the fan side of it, the money goes up and down universally, right? Regardless of what gun you do the kill with. So again, a lot of this stuff, mass people need to beat on it. Scrims need to start. We played Counter-Strike with several different versions before we landed on the rules we're on now for years, right? So it'll take some time to flush out, I think. But again, Counter-Strike started with less rounds. We added more rounds. Jason was part of adding more rounds to the game because the money system was kind of fucked. You want to walk us through that? Why you took us to 15 instead of 12 back in the day?
Yeah, in the old money system, you could save as a terrorist on your second round. Really, any round, and the CTs wouldn't get any money. So you could just save and not do anything, and you just hold up in a corner, and the CTs wouldn't get any money. And if you did it on the second round, it would just absolutely destroy their economy. Hi, welcome back to the show. So that's one of the things that me and some people help implement across pretty much all the leagues was 15 rounds per side, just to increase that where that early money fuck basically didn't mess with you. Really, you don't even need it anymore. Like,
Yeah, because
CS:GO,
I know
go back
we've
to
been
12.
talking about it lately, that you've had a few Counter-Strike related conversations with people on online about, like, well, maybe we can go back to that now that because again, it was to fix the money fuck. The money fuck is gone. Do we need to play so many rounds? And especially now that we've kind of lost the delineation of a pure pistol round. Again, back to Valorant though, I don't know how that, again, until we really start beating on it competitive wise. 12 should be enough rounds. It seems. The comeback mechanic seems viable enough. It should be enough money, but again, I think until we really start beating on it, because again, even Counter-Strike still tweaks it. So we'll see. This map
I never had to do it. I never had to
So
do
that
a
was my
double
ultimate
save, by the
right
way.
there.
Oh,
Okay.
you can go anywhere in the map.
What you just saw was my ultimate. I clearly didn't know the map very well, and I spawned right in front of the guy, and so he heard me obviously because he's right above me, and he just peeked me, killed me right away. And so it's like that kind of thing you sort of have to test out before you get into a competitive match, or you're just not going to know what you're doing and how to use it properly, which is what I displayed.
Yeah, and Phoenix has an ult that's kind of similar that kind of rewinds him, right?
I call that the Tracer ripoff, where Tracer
yeah.
has this just almost the exact same thing, where she can rewind, which is what he does.
Same thing, because you can't die.
Yeah, well, see, this is where Jason and I are going to argue about semantics. Clearly, it was heavily inspired
Phoenix,
by
so
Tracer's ability.
It's the theme of rebirth.
Oh, is that what
coming
Phoenix means,
back
Jason?
to life?
Oh.
Yes. So,
now, I thought about Phoenix, and what we're talking about, folks, is his ultimate is when you trigger the Phoenix ultimate, it basically marks, in gameplay, not necessarily on a screen, where you did it, right? So I did it back in this hallway. I then go running forward. I play a little while. The ult either runs out and it takes me back to that spot, or I get killed and it takes me back. So my question to you guys was, can you take Phoenix? Can you? I start my ult right before I go to plant the spike, right? I run to the spike. I plant the spike. My ult ends. Will that yank me all the way back out of harm's way and set me up to watch the defuse? Right? You understand the timing I'm talking about?
Yeah, if the bar goes down to 0, you'll go back to your spot where you popped it.
Yeah, so in a perfect world, you come running out,
yourself
you plant.
Into a safe position, for sure.
Yeah, so you'd have to get your timings organized, right, to know how much time you got to do it. But that would be cool. I can plant and then literally disappear from the plant spot and go back to watch the plant. That kind of shit blows my mind. Like, when people start working these utilities and abilities as into the gameplay in these kind of ways, I think it'll be very, very interesting. That you can kind of rewind yourself out of trouble, right?
I saw a lot of people pop it during like a clutch situation where they had to go in and kill somebody and defuse the bomb. They would pop it so they get 2 chances at it. One maybe for intel and to kill somebody, another one to finish up the job. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use this ability.
I also saw people do like on a 2v1 where somebody used it and they killed the first person, but when they spawned back to their original location, the other guy was waiting there and killed them. So
gotcha.
I don't know if it leaves the mark on the ground or not. I wish I did.
Yeah, because a lot of I don't
ultimate, it does. Yeah, because I got camped one time. I used it.
Okay.
Somebody camped my spot and waited until I came back and shot me in the face. Actually, they died.
And that's a really valid point too, because I was going to bring that up about other agents' ultimates. Tons of these ultimates take a long time to actually use. Like, you have to sit there and charge your shit up, and all of them basically telegraph what you're about to do to the server, either on the mini map or in the gameplay footage, right? So, like, you're not sneaking ults that no one knows. I would say the dragons of Hanzo are coming, but those ults are all telegraphed. Everyone knows they're coming, right? Like, as Jason said earlier, if you use that res ability, that shows up in the kill feed as a res, right? So everyone knows that person's alive again. So none of this shit is stealthy and sneaky when it comes to the powerful ultimates, right? Like Brimstones, for example, lights, like you all know it's coming. You have plenty of time to get out of the way.
If you understand
so
what
I
the
think
hell's
that kind
going
of
on.
yeah, I think that counterbalances the power of these ultimates, that you have a chance to dodge. The ones that go through walls let you know it's coming if you don't move the hell out of the way. So, and I think that's smart, right? Otherwise, that shit would be too OP too quick.
2 or 3.
What was your overall thoughts of Omen as you played him, Anthony? Did you play him a lot that weekend, or one and done?
I played him one. It was more of a one and done because it just didn't. I didn't like it. Didn't jive with my play style because I feel like Jet is more my play style where I like to be more agile and jumping around and moving a lot, and he's more of like he's more slower pace and just sort of like sits tight and is more like sneaky and like I said, gets behind the enemy lines. And I sort of just wanted to, I don't know, get in there, take a fight. So I really didn't like him too much. I also thought that his abilities weren't overly useful, except for his shroud ability, or that black ball that sort of like, you know,
It's a smoke, right? Basically.
depletes abilities. Yeah, it's like a smoke, exactly. I just really didn't find his short range teleportation to be useful. I didn't find his paranoia was kind of difficult to hit, which is that confusion ability. So yeah, it wasn't really a character. I don't think it's going to be a character that's going to be super meta, to be honest.
Gotcha. And and Jason, you bring up a lot of these different agents have smoke mechanics, if you will, or vision blocking mechanics, not necessarily all smokes. But unlike Counter-Strike, a lot of these utilities that will provide that cover also provide other things. It could be health for your teammates. It could be damage if I, as an enemy, roll into that smoke. Your thoughts on, like, not only are they blocking vision, they're blocking movement, but they can actually do damage or do healing, that aesthetic to this whole thing, kind of like smoke on crack, if you will. How did those play out for you gameplay-wise?
I'm not a fan of the healing mechanics, but I never felt that they were overpowered during any matches. Even watching a guy, heal up almost a full using 2 different abilities, Phoenix abilities. But I do like the flame block offs as far as if you go through this, you're going to take damage, or the toxic block off is the same way. I like that mechanic. It's a little give and take. Like, yeah, should I push this or should I not? But I didn't like I don't like the ice wall.
Gotcha.
The green wall that comes up. You can shoot through it and stuff like that, but I don't like that ability. I just don't like the mechanic. I've watched people do the May boost, where you'd put your teammates in an area and you'd boost them
boost
all
everybody,
up over something. That was kind of cool, but I just don't like.
Did you not like fighting against it, or did you not like having it?
Yeah, I didn't like I'm ready to push this area, and they bring up this wall, and it's as far as I know, it's
I was going to say, because it's like an amazing ability. Plus, yeah, the wall. By the way, the wall's super broken because it has way too much HP. Say you cast it on a pistol round, you cannot. You have to waste your entire clip in order to break it, and by that time, they're already moving into position behind you or something. So yeah, it's super OP.
And folks, if you were watching, he just got flashed. So if you haven't seen what a flash animation looks like in the sense of being flashed, you see this kind of like weird world. It's not like white. It's like this kind of Valorant colored, like streamy thing, but it basically kills your vision on the player side. Anyone who sees that player will see that he's there you go. Thank you. That he's also flashed. So those that are flashed, like in Counter-Strike, the hand goes up, right? I'm in flashed. So there's a tell for those that are watching to see if you were flashed or stunned, right? We'll show some of that stuff when we get into some of the abilities.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
specific agent
cartoonish,
stuff.
But yeah.
Somebody in chat asked
what was
about,
your yeah, go ahead.
Just asked about just overall gunplay. Is that where you were going, Scott?
I was going to actually ask more specifically about the ease of using the. I don't know what we should officially call them, like the smokes. We'll call them smokes, even though they're not really all smokes. The mechanic of like closing off an area, if you will, right? What was really interesting to me is that you can do these things out of harm's way, right? Certainly in Counter-Strike, there is smokes you line up and different things where you're away from the enemy. But like watching the one hero that can drop the 3 smokes,
Brimstone.
and
Brimstone.
yeah, Brimstone picks those off the mini map, and when he's ready, he launches them. So for executes, like you were like, give me a minute. All right, dropping the smokes, and like smoke drops here, smoke drops here, smoke drops here, and 3 areas have all been closed off almost immediately versus 3 different guys having to maybe smoke, right? I thought that was really powerful in the sense of A, controlling an area, or B, getting ready, to kind of lock off an area and go somewhere else. Is that kind of stuff going to be too OP, you think?
I think Brimstone is clunky in a certain way, and you pretty much need somebody to guard you while you're bringing up this ability. It's not the full map, so you have to be close enough. So you've given away your position in a way when you put up your abilities. I saw people do a lot where they would do an ability to fake the other side. So they would do abilities that B, and then everybody would run A. Never works.
Gotcha.
The footsteps are so fucking loud in this game that you can pretty much tell when people are running away. So, I think all the
not overpowered that.
No, I don't think so.
That you're kind of you're in a safe zone generally when you're kind of dropping the utilities. Okay, cool. And again, once 25, 50,000 people start beating on this in a week, we're going to really see how it plays out. Because
that was the resurrection.
Nice.
Sorry to cut you off.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you just saw the resurrection on screen. And that'll show everybody how that mechanic works. I died instantly because we were on a save round. The guy pushed from mid there, but it takes like 7 dots to fill up, and I think you get 1 point per kill, and then I also think you get a point when you cap those orbs. So it happens, I'd say 3 times a game at most, unless you're killing it, that it'll happen more.
And again, the key differences between like the Mercy res and this res is you have to be very close to the person you're resing, and you can only res 1. It's not a res all the dead bodies in front of you kind of ult. Although Mercies might have changed.
Well, I think they changed that. I don't know. They did. It's now a regular ability. Yeah, it's now a regular ability that charges up.
Okay, yeah. So forget my Overwatch meta ignorance.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I played that too.
And also, like, it shows up in the kill feed, so everyone instantly sees they just brought Jason back. So now it's a 2v1 or whatever it happens to be. So again, it seems like everything they did that they made powerful, the counter is the information everyone knows about, right? Yes, this is a powerful, but you all know it just happened, so it's not as powerful, right? It'd be different if it was a secret and all of a sudden 2 guys showed up and you didn't know the other guy was alive.
So that's
here's Omen's ultimate again, by the way.
All right. Yeah, you just teleported?
So yeah, I just teleported from A site across the map to B site. So unlike Brimstone's smoke ability, where you have to be close, Omen's ability, you can teleport anywhere on the map, which makes it actually kind of powerful. So I accidentally teleported to the wrong site to get behind him. So I had to run all the way around to rotate behind the enemy in order to get back to my team. But it actually worked out in the end.
And how do you pick where you teleport? Does a mini map pop up for you that you pick?
So I don't know if you saw, but there's a mini map. Not a mini map. It actually covers the entire screen. It popped up for me.
Okay, so you get like a Brimstone-y type. Like Brimstone gets that map, you get one as well for that ability to then pick where you want to go. Okay, got it.
Yep.
So similar to the other ones, yeah.
Yeah, after that amazing spray. So I was bringing my crosshair down like it's an AK in Counter-Strike. And it's just not. You don't have to bring your recoil down that far. Yeah. So
I see. Okay. Thank you for rewinding that. So you click on it.
So I went the opposite end. And here's the thing with that ability: if you saw on the mini map, it turns into this like shaded area. It kind of had this like this shroud effect on it, so people know when Omen's using his special and his ultimate.
Gotcha.
So it's like I said, again, like we talked about earlier, everything has a tell, everything has a sign. And even like Phoenix's ultimate, he screams out something, and you can hear it across the entire map. So you see the mini map there. So when that happens to your map, you know that Omen's ability went off. So it's everything is not overpowered. At everybody.
So
gotcha.
It kind of goes back to the information thing. So when the other team has an ultimate. So above their head, when somebody's ultimate is
I didn't even recognize that or notice that.
Yes. Yeah. So everybody's ultimate. You also know the other team's overall money at the end of the round. You don't know how much they've spent, but you know how much money they have, and you know how much, kind of like playing a pub server, you know how much damage you've done to the enemy. So there's like lots of information that gets given away in this game.
Yeah, that like we said, the abilities aren't at the forefront of the game. You know, it's definitely the gunplay and the tactics, and also my amazing aiming ability.
And your amazing aiming score is 6-4 here, folks. Again, 12
hard
rounds aside, and then everyone flips sides. So we'll play this out till halftime, and then we're gonna take a quick little break. And when we come back, we're gonna have DDK join us for an interview as well. But we'll finish this out. The last couple rounds, 2 more to go, maybe.
But
maybe
the second half is so
loses.
much better.
Yeah, you should tell us.
Well, you know, you were just getting warmed up.
So we'll use that as B-roll when we're talking to DDK. Perfect. So one of the things at the start of the round, there's these barriers, and it's like the attacking team can only move so far, and the defending team can move so far. But you can kind of prep what site you're going to, and it kind of, you know, lets you get into the action faster, which, you know, is kind of nice.
I did
And
like
on top
that
of that,
counter-terrorist, or the defenders, they can run to the site. So it's not a rush, or it's not a race to the site for both teams. The defenders can run and buy at the same time on the site before the barriers are brought down. So that's really different and really cool. So if you forget to buy a gun, you don't have to run all the way back to spawn. You can buy it anywhere during that buy period, which I thought was really awesome. That
just
did
like
stop me from
Counter-Strike,
doing
though,
it a couple times.
just like Counter-Strike, an offensive side guy can absolutely forget he has the bomb, drop it by accident, and leave it in his spawn for the entire match. That might happen occasionally too. Maybe it happened in my match. I don't know. Maybe I left the bomb. Maybe I dropped the bomb by accident.
I'm surprised you're that humble and admitted that.
Yeah. Hey, man, you got to be self-effacing. Yeah, and I think another thing about these pre-barriers that are up at the kind of the start of the round, they also have killed all audio and video. So if Jason ends up on one side of the barrier and I'm on the other, we can't see each other. We can't hear each other. We literally could be on the other side of the blue barrier, but there's no tells to each other as you're setting up. So Jason can't sit there and listen and go, oh yeah, I hear 3 footsteps over here. Nobody hears anything, right? So on either side. So, and that's all, because I was like, wait a minute, can't they hear us getting ready right over here, right?
Ooh,
and they can't.
Flick.
So that's awesome. Again, I think they've ticked a lot of the right boxes right away with some of their decisions, I think. Because that would be OP if I can get all set up, but the other guys can be listening going, yep, I hear footsteps of 3 and A. Yep. All right, get ready. Let's go B. That would be broken. And you would take away all the advantage you just gave to your defensive side. Well, cool. What are we at? 6-5. 1v. Oh, is this your LMSing? Is that you?
Not alive right now, sir.
That's not you.
I kept dying trying to entry.
Toxin.
Because I'm bad.
Toxin killed you. Let's see what he does here. 1v1, folks. 17 seconds left on the clock. Ooh, that was sexy.
Thanks, Gear sneaking up, gets the spike, falls back. He's got 9 seconds left. Will he do it? He's going in. He's checking his corners. He's bringing out the spike. He's planning. Where is the last attacker?
Planning in the worst spot possible. What a great job.
Had no cover whatsoever.
There's the flash.
And
that is the
Sicko
fucking
Scott
Phoenix flash perfectly.
him.
That is the Phoenix flash right around the corner, and to throw that guy literally is on the other side.
Actually,
of the
really
boxes,
nice.
Right? He is
that was
right
sick.
around the corner. To your point earlier about you got to be close.
Right.
So
and you can't throw that straight, by the way.
You cannot throw that straight.
To answer chat's question about anti-cheat, so this is built on the Unreal Engine, first of all. Second of all, they've done some interesting thing with anti-cheat. They talked about it. For one thing, people like the game doesn't reveal when there's somebody behind the walls. Like I don't know how to explain it. Anybody want to explain it? I'm trying to think.
So they don't show up until they're like 100 pixels from the edge of a wall. So if you're wall hacking, the players won't show up that are, outside of your visibility range. They only appear on the client side until right before they pop out from behind a wall. That's the best way that they described it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott.
No, that's basically it. Is the game has been built that the clients don't see everything until they're close to line of sight, right? So again, your standard wall hack that I can fire up and spawn and see everybody everywhere won't work because the game isn't giving me the info to see that. It doesn't exist. So the cheat client can't hook in and grab it and then put an overlay on it, right? A border or an outline or all that. So a lot of those cheats will just absolutely not work, right? And then supposedly they've got something in place that if they do detect a cheat, if you do sneak through, because they dropped a video about a week and a half ago of one of their devs doing it, bans you instantly. No ifs, ands, or buts. There's no reporting. There's no, and again, there might be a reporting feature, but they've got anti-cheat set up that if it flags you, you're gone. Not like, hey, Valve, this guy's cheating. Let's all watch fucking Overwatch and vote that he cheated. Like, so pretty hardcore. And I think, again, probably a lot of this from Sal and all the FPSers guys there. Like, the one thing that'll break your beautiful free-to-play shooter is rampant cheating. It will literally break your game, your player base, right? Counter-Strike has this problem all the fucking time. People love the game, hate playing against cheaters, so they stop playing, matchmaking, etc. Right?
And we'll give it a couple months, and we'll see what they do.
Yeah,
maybe it works.
Because people are going to try to break it, right? But I think that what it seems like they've done that not all game developers do is they've thought about anti-cheat from the get-go. Not as an afterthought, oh, fuck, we better get Punk Buster and jam a Punk Buster type thing into our game. Like, they have created this thing from scratch to go with this game. Now, will it work? The cheaters will let us know very soon. But I think it's very, very different in that sense of how
to go about it.
Yeah, they'll figure out how they get the server data versus the client data. But I think at its core, the idea that you don't show up in my game, Anthony, for me to have the info helps a lot, right? Now, cheat and anti-cheat is just like virus and antivirus, right? They're always cheaters and virus guys are one step ahead of the antivirus and anti-cheater guys. So we'll see. It'll be a challenge for every cheat creator to break this game, right? And to break Valve's uncheatable, like you can't cheat in our game kind of thing. So we'll see. But I think at least they're making a good effort from the get-go. Not all developers do that, right? Warzone has a problem right now, right? My feed is full of friends of mine that play Warzone that are so incredibly frustrated that every other game has cheaters in it, right? And it's not an easy thing, anti-cheat, but at least like Riot's trying. So I'm glad you brought that up, though, Jason, in regards to cheating. All right.
I believe we're going to take a break.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, guys,
let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get DDK set up on the interview, and we're going to chat with DDK again. Quaker, Counter-Striker, broadcaster, student of shooter video games. A lot of things to ask DDK about for his impressions as well. So get yourself something to drink. Stick around for more drops. We'll be right back after the break.
Let's go.
All right. Welcome back, folks. Quick little break. Looks like people in chat are enjoying themselves, trying to figure out the drops. Again, a gentle reminder on how the drops are basically working. As you can see, our Twitch channel has drops enabled. We are one of the chosen. And the way it basically works is you, as a viewer, have a Twitch account. You, as a viewer, need to go make a Riot account, either your League of Legends account or go make a new one. And you link those, just like you link any other account with Twitch. You know, you link your Steam, you link all the different things, right? You link that. That's all you got to do. And then you got to watch any of the streams today that have drops enabled from Riot, and you have the odds to win. You won't get a key per se. What'll happen is they're basically going to flag the notification bell up in the upper window of Twitch next to your name and that whole area and the message area. You'll get an email most likely, and then you'll redeem via that. You know, you're not going to get a long code to go jack in. It's not really a key drop. So good luck. I hope some people have got them. They have already started. I thought I saw someone say they got one this early when we first started, but I don't know if they were trolling. So I don't know if we've given any out. It would be nice if we are. Let's move on. Again, Jason on one side, Anthony on the other, joining me. Both Do Not Peak employees. Well, Jason's actually one of the owners with me. He's a little bit more than an employee. Anthony's one of our employees. Does video work, production work, movie maker, all sorts of stuff, all Counter-Strike guys. So if you're just joining us, we've kind of got a Counter-Strike vibe that we're talking about and how it relates, pros and cons, etc. Next guy I'm going to bring on right now, Daniel Capita, also known as DDK, longtime FPS fan, lover, student of those kind of games. Quake professional player back in the day, Quake broadcaster back in the day. Now, one of our top tier Counter-Strike voices that you hear, often paired with James Bardoff. He was also part of the this closed little weekend, so he played it. He also was all over Diabolical when it was in beta, so we're going to ask him some kind of comparison questions, shooter to shooter, and also comparisons to Counter-Strike. So let's go ahead and bring our boy DDK on. Daniel, sir, thank you so very much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. What's
going on, Daniel?
My quarantine, I feel like it's really not too much different than usual. A lot of time to play video games, and as you said, like I've been all over the betas, so just can't wait to see where you direct the discussion.
Yeah, and again, like we're trying to avoid too much, like, you know, coronavirus talk today. We've all been living this shit for weeks, so today I'm not asking. I didn't ask Frankie too much about how she's coping. I know we're all coping. We're all stay at home. To your point, in some regards, it is kind of business as usual for a lot of us gamers. Like, it's no big deal. I feel like I'm back in retirement a little bit, other than, you know, doing the work with the guys. But I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're healthy. Hopefully, you know, all your family and friends are healthy, and you're staying safe, it appears. So that's great. It's kind of a bonus that Riot gave us this to go play last weekend and kind of distract us all, and then today to talk about it. I first want to start off with a very basic question. Was this weekend the first time you played it, or were you part of that test that Henry G was also part of months ago?
This weekend was my first experience with the game.
Great. So there's no comparison for that. Okay. So let's get into it. Like I asked Frankie, just general impressions. You know, not only are you a Counter-Strike guy, you're obviously a huge Quake guy, huge Diabolical. You're a huge shooter movement kind of guy. I like to say that you are like the greatest student of these kind of games because you don't just play them, you break them down. You as a human are one of the most self-educating people I know. I guess is the easy way to put it. You are always trying to learn new stuff, not just gaming stuff. Like you are a student of life, I would say, not to blow smoke up your ass. So I love when you get it. Like I watch some of your diabolical stuff and the shit you were diving into was like, this is what I want to hear. So I want this kind of stuff from you. We're going to start general impressions, just as a gamer, not as a high-level Counter-Strike caster of the game, Valorant. Your thoughts?
Okay, cool. Right, that helps because I can definitely go in so many different directions with this game. So the first impression, if you play this game, is that it's just very polished and very fun. It feels like it's been a labor of love. Pretty much everything from the boot of the game to getting into the game and getting out of the game is just engaging, very compelling. The music's great; it really sets up the vibe very well. I think a lot of people have gripes with the art style. To me, because I'm more about the gameplay, as long as it's kind of clean, I have good visibility, which they provided very well. Like you can see that in this game
Agreed.
that they want competitive integrity behind the visuals. I don't mind too much about that, and they had their own agendas behind how they would design the visuals and everything. For me, I like to say it's got just enough of a touch of anime. It's got more of the kind of the cross between Fortnite and Overwatch. Obviously, they want to make it appealing for the Asian audience as well as the Western audiences. So for me, the art style and stuff just looks clean. It's enjoyable. But I again spend more time with my crosshair placement and stuff, so I'm not really paying too much attention. It's like in Counter-Strike actually. It's funny because you've played Mirage 1,000 times and you'll see a detail of the map, someone will point out I didn't know that was there. It's just these small little details because it's not important to you as a competitor. But yeah, so generally speaking, it's a very fun game. I think my first impression was initially the movement felt a little bit slow, but then I kind of realized that it was more of a 1.6 vibe, and then you start thinking about the way that the peaker's advantage is not there anymore, which is actually once you adjust to that and understand how that works, the game doesn't feel slow anymore. Once you understand also some of the abilities and you get to grips with that, it also doesn't feel slow anymore. The game actually has a flow that kind of makes sense and is quite enjoyable. And I think that, looking at the guns and everything as well, it is very kind of one-to-one with Counter-Strike. Pretty much all the Counter-Strike weapons are there. So if you're a CS player, you're immediately I kind of get all of this. So I had that feeling too. And as you said, because I've played so many different games, my experiences with 1.6 I found very helpful because it did really feel quite similar in that regard in terms of how I'm going to be holding angles, how I'm going to be clearing stuff, how I'm going to be thinking about my repositioning and stuff. CS:GO is a bit of a faster game because you get rewarded more for being aggressive in that sense, but this game mitigates that in a different way, but that's obviously a bit of a deeper discussion. So generally, first impressions across the board, the game was really fun. I felt like once I understood and got to grips with the abilities, they weren't annoying. I actually found that they provided a lot of utility and synergy between teammates that was a little bit more obvious than, if you try to do it in Counter-Strike, where it's okay, in CS, most beginners don't know anything to do with how they should throw a grenade. Grenades are actually a hindrance. You're going to team flash people. No one knows how to pop flash. These things are kind of precise, spoken off certain areas and lineups and stuff. That's really unintuitive if you're a beginner. In this game, that stuff is easy. They've taken the skill away from just spending hours learning lineups, but it's more about knowing where to play something, with what kind of teammate, what kind of agent that person's playing, how you can synergize from that, and then understanding how to do the spacing and everything else. They've taken, I feel the skill stealing out of the places that don't really make sense for it to create a more intuitive experience for the game. So that was something that was abundantly clear to me immediately as well, because it also shortened the learning curve. And also the maps, I think, are pretty cool. One of the things that was very striking is the teleporters. By the way, stop me at any point because I can.
Go. This is great. This is great, bro.
So the one of the interesting things for me, in kind of taking from the Quake. Okay, this is one of the I think this is super interesting at this point about this game. So when it comes to the way that I look at this game, it's at its core, it's got all of the mechanics and principles and concepts of Counter-Strike. Rotations, map control, the way that angles work, the way that repositioning might work, the way that timings and spacings and all of the rest, all of that kind of stuff is very, very, very similar. It's the same basically. You're just adding the abilities on top of that, and the new mechanics, such as I mentioned, like the nature of where the camera is placed and the lack of peeker's advantage, how you hold angles, how you take angles, adding the wallbang mechanic as well. That's going to be pretty interesting to dive into the impact that has. I don't think people really quite know how where that's going to go. But equally, what they've added on top, other than just the abilities and some of these mechanics, is a couple of new things too, which adds to those initial Counter-Strike concepts. So you've got the teleporters that are on one of the maps that we were able to play, which is a very interesting idea because this can obviously change rotation timings, and it also, in that sense, adds a huge. It can potentially add more interest and more reason to actually have more of the map be important, which I think is very interesting because that means there's more strategies that are possible then in terms of because different areas can be important for different reasons. And on top of that, you've got the resource that was added to the map, which is almost Quake-ish in a sense, because of the fact that you can charge up the ultimates. You have these orbs on the extremities of the map that we were playing. They're on the direct extremities, which is really interesting because if you have a lineup that is more purposed to maybe doing set pieces with ultimates, maybe you want to play that old style Na'Vi kind of Counter-Strike where you play really slow, you're not thinking about map control and defaulting out as much, you want to go for those extremities, it's really unclear exactly where you're going to go to, you're going to make these little plays, it's a bit too risky for the CTs to kind of push because they don't know where what you're kind of doing, so they're going to kind of leave you to your own devices, and then all of a sudden at the end, right at the last 15 seconds, you hit them with a huge kind of set piece of some kind, and here the emphasis might be on the ultimates and having that advantage, that resource advantage, and playing for that. And ultimately, if you want to play really fast too, that's really possible in this game too, because you can play a lineup of agents that is purposed to not need as much, let's say resources behind the ultimates, and not need maybe as much time and map control, and just focuses on having a really good synergy with super, initiator type agents. Equally, you can play the super Counter-Strike default style that works as well, where you play kind of a medium pace where you're working on map control, you try to extract a pick, then beat the other team on rotations. It doesn't matter as much about the abilities. It doesn't come into it quite as much. You're just thinking about timings that we just want to outposition our opponents and put them in a position where they can't have players in place. Now, an additional point here, and I'll stop after this one because I'm just kind of going here. An additional point here, which I find quite fascinating, is the fact that because there's a defender's advantage, there becomes more of an emphasis on taking away these positions. In CS, you can take away positions and it is impactful, but with a really skilled player, they can always there's always a way to kind of make a play. In this, there's going to be less variance in that element of the individual skill from what I can see. So it's going to actually encourage more tactical play, which I think at the very, very pro level will kind of reduce the variance. And there's a lot of ways that they've reduced the variance. I heard on the stream previously, you guys mentioned the barriers. Now, there's an element of variance in Counter-Strike with the strategies and how you might call them, because we have spawns. Like on Dust 2, it's the map that's the best example of strategies that are selected that are very, very biased or should be very biased towards the spawns, because the spawns is like the second quarter in a sense. It's like, here's an option that's really strong, your opponent can't read it, but your option is going to be really strong off these spawns. So that doesn't exist here. So that's going to create a stronger narrative and identity towards teams on certain maps and how you design certain maps. So there's like a huge dump of stuff I just gave you.
But that's great. I mean, this is the analytical kind of stuff I knew you would bring, right? Like, this is what you do. Like, you don't just go play a video game. Like, you really get into all these thought processes of what does what leads to what. I love it. That's why I love your streams too. So you brought up the orbs, and we showed those a little bit. I want to mention those again on these maps, folks. There's these little glowy orbs. Both sides of the maps, and both teams can use them. And if I lean in front of it, hit my use key, I charge one dot on my ultimate, right? But they're exposed spots technically, and I'm exposed while I'm getting the orb. I can't use my gun, right? Question to you: here's one of the orbs that we're talking about. Do you think if the ultimates become really important, if I think that the orb areas themselves will become choke points and things that everyone fights over, or will people still stay back and will those be given to the attackers and the defenders will stay home and not use those as a place to take the fight, to deny the orb, if you will?
Yeah, I mean I think absolutely it'll be very important to certain teams' strategies. Some teams won't put as much emphasis on them. Again, I think it totally depends on your lineup. I think there are definitely agents who have ultimates that are more impactful in terms of actually winning a round. And you can play. There's enough time in the round that you can play very slow, and you can just say we want to focus on getting orb control. And the thing as well is that what's interesting about that is how much utility or abilities would you like to invest in the round in securing that and getting the advantage. It's kind of like if you think about in Counter-Strike the way that teams play to get map control. They're going to have an investment of utility and players to do so, and time as well. And in this, you can choose to do that. And so if that's the style of your team in certain rounds, then, and if the other team understands this, they could try to make plays against it, or they could maybe just take parts of the map that are on the extremities, because they know that you're going to have less investment at the beginning of the round towards maybe the middle of the map. So then you get this really interesting idea behind the meta, and also stylistically how teams will handle a map control with the agent lineups, because it could be the case that with some agents, their ultimates aren't going to be as kind of round winning if you get them into certain spots. Some agents will have ultimates which will be really good at taking position, and maybe you have a lineup whereby once your team has position, your team's going to have a huge advantage. And so there's so many different ways, and this is something that I really want to explore in this game in particular. Given the different types of lineups of agents, which aspects of the game are they going to be strongest in? Is it going to be in holding positions, or is it going to be in taking positions? Because that really determines then the strategy you want in terms of like how you open the round. So I definitely think that once there will be some teams that will figure out like a really strong way to use certain ultimates. Like obviously we already know that Viper's ultimate, which is if it pops up this huge gas cloud that you can kind of move around, and then as long as you're within this gas cloud, it will stay up in permanence, and only when you move out of it will it dissipate. But in post plants around the spike, we know this is an extremely strong advantage. And I don't know if there's like any super like obvious counters to this yet, because it's still early days, but there are some like round winning post plant type ultimates that maybe teams will be thinking about. Or like I said, it could develop that it's the case that the pro teams think, actually, you know what, once you actually figure out how to play from position in this game, what's actually more important is the position, because then we can just play the post plant. We won't need that many abilities. Or then maybe a team figures out in that meta the kinds of abilities that actually break those kinds of defensive setups that are anticipated. So in this game, I actually expect that it's going to take a very long time to establish a strong meta in terms of the agent synergies in that balance. As I said, there's three styles of play: playing aggressively, playing for map control, and playing for rotations and having the advantage in timings and rotations, or playing for the set pieces, which ultimately will be best aided by having the most ultimates, which means that you want more control of the orbs, which means that you give up some map control and give up some information to have the ability to have those ultimates ready. So that's then so those are the three styles of play in pro level that I anticipate that teams will kind of balance between.
Yeah, and like you said, some of the ultimates are definitely just geared up to either be bomb site clears before a plant, or post plant stun everybody and come in to get the defuse. Like, it's going to be very interesting again when everyone has learned the game and no one's like looking down at their keyboard going, okay, what key does what? Because I was going to ask you this weekend, like Jason went to try hard mode immediately, right, and got really frustrated that at the humans, not at the game, right? The game was fine. He got very frustrated, as we all do when we play Counter-Strike, at bad teammates or blaming teammates. Did you get into try hard mode really quick once you kind of grasped what you were playing and like I get it, why you all terrible, or were you just having fun this weekend and like not like sweating the competitive side of it, or did it creep in?
Yeah. It was a mixture of the two, actually, I have to say, because it really depends on your expectations too. Like I was fortunate to play with some of the Counter-Strike guys from time to time. Like I was playing quite a bit with Jordan, with Nothing, with Skadoodle, with Sean Diaz in a few games as well. And so I got to play with some Counter-Strikers, and even just from the very basics, the Counter-Strikers who understand how to play Counter-Strike, because even though there are CSs out there, obviously I kind of have an expectation from ex-pro CS players that they understand how to play Counter-Strike, but that's not always the same, that CS players understand principles, how to play the actual game of CS. But regardless, there is a very clear difference in the sense that in this game, like in CS, like taking position is obviously very important, and understanding, having the awareness of what's going on in the entire map is very important. Having those reference points that I check the mini map every so often, and I understand based on like what has happened, how to read the rotations or the positions, or if I should push, if I should go back, should I try to take some information? If I'm moving with a teammate, how should my spacing be to get a trade kill here? And should I just run through that Molotov so I can get that trade kill? Like these kinds of things, I could definitely see. I experienced a lot of spots where, like if I'm playing matchmaking in CS with players in CS that don't understand these ideas, they're making these mistakes where, and I have those frustrations every so often. But that is part and parcel of playing with people that aren't experienced Counter-Strike players, or aren't experienced with those principles. So those basics, if you're a CS player, they're all the same, like trade fragging, spacing, all that stuff is really important.
Now let's talk a little about the maps. Oh, good. Yeah, good. Go ahead.
So I wanted to go back to the orb. Your discussion about that. So in my opinion, now correct me if or disagree with me if you don't agree with me, but the position of the orb as of right now, I feel like it heavily favors the defenders. You could easily put up a vision blocking ability in front of that orb, cap it, run back without even engaging in a fight. Do you think that they'll move that away from the CT side or the defender side a little bit, so it's more neutral and so each team has an equal opportunity to get to it? Because I feel like the defenders definitely can get to it a lot faster and capitalize on that orb a lot better.
I think this is a really interesting question, because I'm sure that Volcano was scratching his head a lot, trying to figure out how the balance is going to work and kind of theory crafting it. But what's really interesting about this in particular is that I think with the orbs, once if we kind of if the assumption is we're talking about kind of the top level of play or very competitive play, there's always kind of a give and a take. So I don't know where it falls into just yet, but I know that if I know that my opponent is going towards the orb, and one thing that we haven't mentioned a lot about right now is the ability to gain intel with various abilities and how that could make an impact, and also the sound. We haven't talked about the sound yet, because the sound is everything is very audible and very clear. So when people are like picking up the orb probably from quite far away, it makes a very distinctive sound, and there's no ambient sound that really will distract you from what's actually important, like the footsteps and gunfire and like these key abilities, like revive that goes off. Like all these sounds are very, very, like you just know exactly what it is from quite a distance. So the orb does also make a sound, and so if you're a team that has like a kind of setup whereby you think that a player might be out of position because they're getting the orb on the offensive side, then that could be how they've thought about the balance here, because that's your moment to know, okay, this guy's out of position. So and he has to like maybe invest in trying to take that. But then also you have the kind of the meta, the kind of juking possibility where maybe someone threatens that they're taking the orb by throwing up the blocking of line of sight, and knowing that they might want to go and do that, and then they're actually in position on the site, and now they've triggered the offensive side to make a push. So there are some mind games around it. I don't know if I have enough experience to say yet whether I feel like it's more advantageous for one side over the other. I think one interesting thing about this also is that who requires the ultimates the most? Is it the defenders or the offense? And is there an inherent kind of balancing aspect to that? Because you could make an argument that because of the defender's advantage and the fact that the defenders already have abilities too, and maybe a more defensive loadout for certain teams, maybe it's the case that there's already a balance there, that you want the offense to have access to just a little bit more in the way of ultimates or set piece opportunities. So I don't have a clear answer, but I do think that it is whenever you're going out of position and you're investing to do so, there's a give and a take there, and it's up to the offense in this case to make sure that they punish that if the punish is possible. If the punish is not possible, that's reasonable. Then I think there could be a balance complaint.
Let's talk about wait,
Awesome.
Jason, go ahead. Jason, did you? No?
I had one more question.
Yeah.
Before we move on to
that.
So you discussed lineups like in CS. We have lineups for flashes and lineups for smokes, and in this game there's less attention placed on it, and less priority placed on lineups, because we have these abilities that can go through walls, or the sky smoke that comes down with brimstone, I believe. What did you discover about the skybox in Valorant and lineups and bouncing abilities off of walls? Is that you want to be able to do that?
So I actually thought that they did a pretty cool thing with this, because as we were talking about before, obviously there is this kind of barrier in accessibility to a casual Counter-Strike player getting closer to what we would want to be a Counter-Strike experience, which is playing with teammates and synergizing and throwing utility for each other and making plays like that. And in this game, as you say, they have like the sky smokes and like these ways you can just, if you want something to go into place, you can just click it and that's cool. You don't have to like learn a specific lineup. But so that's really cool for the casuals, because there is so much accessibility to playing with your teammates there. But there is, and I didn't mess around with this too much. Unfortunately, I didn't get into that because I was just trying to like, I'm a very offensively based. I have a very offensively based play style, so I didn't play around with the smokes and the lineups too much. But I know that it is possible based on the presentations that we were shown on some of the abilities in the characters, that there are lineups that are kind of cross-map lineups that are possible with the smokes and stuff, which I'm sure you guys saw all of that as well. So I don't really have any additional insight into that because I just really didn't play around with it too much. But for those who haven't had the chance to be watching the stream and haven't had the chance to play the game yet, it is possible to have retake setups in terms of retake smokes outside of a bomb site. Jet could like throw something over a wall, and like those things are possible. They don't have a skybox, I think they said, but it's just that the abilities have an arc to them that kind of respects what you can do in a map. So, which I think that's actually quite kind of a cool way to do it.
Yeah,
so
no skyboxes according to
walls.
Okay. Yeah, no skyboxes according to Sal when he gave his presentation. But again, some of those abilities have a limitation on how far they'll fly before they drop, etc., to kind of mitigate that. I wanted to talk about not necessarily the maps as they sit and are they balanced, are they not balanced? Because again, very much a work in progress, tweak stuff. One of the things Sal said when he was generally discussing maps is like, this is not a game that's going to have 20 million maps. That is not our intention. We're going to give you a chunk of maps that you play thousands of hours on, right? And again, just like Counter-Strike in our world, right? How long we've been playing Dust 2, right? That's kind of their mindset. They're not going to, you need to learn maps. They're hard to learn. They're hard to learn callouts. So few maps, but well built, right? So I don't want to the maps. I want to talk about concepts with you because you're a concept guy. So the two-sided map, again, very Counter-Strike. Going to be, you generally got some sort of mid control, right? And those strategies will flush out, probably very similar to what we're used to, what decision you're going to make, where you're going to fake, all those kind of things. The three bomb sighter concept with a teleporter. When I was playing, I had a guy who threw his gun through the teleporter to trigger, again, to your point about everyone hears everything, he baited the fake through a teleporter with a gun. Right. So just your thoughts on this third bond site concept. We're so used to two. And then the idea of this teleporter for quick access, one-way teleporter, faking all that just opens up craziness to me. I want your thoughts on it, though.
Yeah, I love this actually because it obviously does go both ways. I mean, that's like the beauty of all of this. I actually hadn't had the idea yet to like fake it with guns. That's actually so epic. I love that. That's so funny. But it's such an interesting idea because what it does also is it places an emphasis on both teams in either one having teleporter control or two having the information in some respects. And in Counter-Strike, information is effectively map control. It's like, what can you see on the map? Now there's an extra twist in this game because of all of the information and intel finding tools that some of the characters have, such as someone like Cypher or like the drone from Sova. So that's actually going to add a level of complexity to this that's going to be really interesting. And I think that's also what also makes it necessary to have extra things like teleporters on the map, because having all that intel gathering opportunities with those abilities creates, I think, if we looked at like a normal Counter-Strike map, I think it just makes it a little bit too easy. Like, for example, I know that at the early stages when we were all kind of sort of playing Counter-Strike, we weren't really using the abilities too much, and I wasn't running into too many ciphers and people that can like set up these tripwires and then there were these drones flying around and stuff. It felt like, this is kind of lame actually. Whenever I try to flank from one site, if I'm on B and I'm doing that rotation a little bit early to try to get that flank as they're stuck in a choke point trying to attack onto the A site, they always know I'm coming. That's kind of lame actually. But as it started to get more and more playthrough, with it, there are ways to kind of mitigate that, and it places a lot of emphasis on making plays all the time to like get information. And even though there's a defender's advantage, there's a lot of emphasis on going and getting some areas of the map that are important. So you can have de facto that information. And like in this instance, like you're saying, if there is that threat of that fast flank, how do you handle that? There's a couple ways to handle it. And you know, for example, you could try to take that area early in the round. Maybe that's more important than the rush timing of, in this instance, let's say we're talking about the map with the teleporters, which is Bind, I think it's called. You have this area called Hookah, which is kind of this like the fastest way to attack the site in the middle of the map. And instead you're taking the extremity instead of holding that area, because actually I'm more worried about the teleporter control here. And maybe that allows you to have this instance where you have a lighter defense towards the A site, because you'll see, you know, you can have more players towards A because you're controlling that teleporter and you have that fast rotation now. So you get to like, there's so much more you can play with in terms of getting information and using the teleporters. And the teleporters have a disadvantage to a sense, because if the other team knows you're going to be using them, there's this huge wall, this choke point that you're stuck in. If they're waiting on the other side, you're in trouble. So there's these added elements in that sense that really emphasize, I think, going and getting the information. And I know that I think this is going to be the most difficult thing I think for people to get to grips with in this game, is the nature of not only how you best use the intel gathering tools of the various characters, but also how you then play with that information. Because you know, having information is all well and good, but playing off of it is also another thing entirely. And the level of deception that's possible once you understand these abilities and then how to play against them is pretty interesting too. Like I remember I had a very small play, for example, where my entire team was pushing the A bomb site on binds, and I was waiting for the guy on the B rotator to come out of hookah to kind of, you know, initiate this flank. It was a Sova, and he shot one of his kind of info-seeking arrows. I forget what it's called, and it works like sonar, so it's like pulses of information. And I was out of line of sight, so I wasn't affected on the first pulse. But knowing that he was shooting that to get information to see if the area was clear, so we could, you know, go for the flank, I peeked in between pulses, knowing that he thought it was clear now, and he peeked into an area that he thought was clear, and he walked into my crosshair. So there's lots of ways to use these intel gathering tools against the opponent. It's kind of like you know, it's like poker in that sense, in a way that you're representing something, even if they kind of see it to an extent, it's not actually accurate. It's just a sense of what they have. So in like poker, it's like putting someone on a range, and you know, actively representing a range. You don't know precisely what they have. You just have kind of an idea, and they also know that they're representing that range when they're placing that bet or whatever it might be. So then there's this element of mind games there, and then the meta also comes into play. So I think it's the information gathering elements of this game are going to be really huge, and there's a lot of layers that this can go to, which I actually found as I started to play the game. Initially, I was kind of very, very dubious and skeptical of a game that's pure in its core sense, like Counter-Strike, like Quake is. Like Quake is beautiful because super easy to understand. There's basically 3 guns: a gun that works as, you know, at close range and medium range and long range in different capacities, and then a map with resources and a movement system, and then go. Everything's consistent. Counter-Strike's similar. Everything's very, very, you know, very much the same. It's about the metagame. It's about just controlling the map. It's about getting information and understanding how best to use these positions and mechanics. This game is that, but then it adds all these extra abilities, and so I was very skeptical. But I think they've done it in a way which is actually good, and so that's very surprising, and I'm tentatively quite excited for that.
But let's talk about that, right? Because you know, you mentioned information gathering all the time in all your videos. Right? It's very important to be a pro in any game you're playing. You have to have information of, you know, the spawns in Quake, all those kind of things. So Valorant has made a conscious decision to share tons of info that normally the in-game leader of a Counter-Strike team would have to be guessing. In Quake, you have to guesstimate some of this stuff. They're laying it all out there for everybody to see, whether it's the sound cues or actually some of the digital information. Like you see everybody's money, you see when everyone's ults are up, you see the damage, all those kind of things. Does that detract, or is it just really let the low-hanging fruit go away so that the pros can worry about that next level of skill?
Yeah, so this is a really good question. And I think that for me, I'm in favor of this idea of, if the skill ceiling doesn't need to arbitrarily be somewhere, then it shouldn't be. And I think that there are certain things like in Counter-Strike 1.6, for example, you could make the argument like you can't actually have. It's so hard to understand how much money the other team has. You have to have a very good sense of the game. There, it is kind of it is. I can see that the argument is there to make sure that that information isn't available. And in CS:GO, you have just enough information. They've made it this way that it's actually very easy to figure it out. You might as well just tell people how much money the other team has at this point because you can see how many people have died and stuff. If you're a pro, it's pretty easy to figure that out. Honestly, and it's not really like you can at a glance. You just kind of know. You don't even have to do any calculations. So at that point, you could even make an argument to just show it. I think it's cool not to do it just because of the legacy of it all and so on. But in this game, I think it's actually a good thing that they show it because there's so many other variables that are present that you have to think about. And so I think I don't want it to be the case that in this game where it's going to be more about, in some respects, I don't usually like using the chess because as anyway analogous to esports because chess is fundamentally different in that it has perfect information, whereas in esports it's about imperfect information, which is why poker is always much more analogous. But in this case, what I think is really interesting is the fact that having that information means that you can actually make good decisions in a sense that there are so many decisions to already make. If you didn't know what money they had or quite where they were with that, and because you made a miscalculation, it could just throw off an entire setup as to how you might be playing the round. And I think that that's like an inconsistency that it would actually harm the game in this sense because there's so many different ways to play the game strategically that you might as well just have that information. I think it would just detract from the game if you had to calculate it. And I don't want that being a skill in this game in particular. In a game like Quake, I think that it should be the case that you have to time items in duel because that's actually a concept whereby it's actually a balanced thing. Really, I think I think a comparison I would make is to StarCraft Brood War. In StarCraft Brood War, the more on top of everything that you get, like the more economy you get, the more advantages you get, the more that you have to manage your economy, the macro and the micro and everything. You have more stuff. The harder it is because of like just more clicks, right? Basically, that you have to be doing, which means that because you have to have so many more clicks and it's like a mechanical demand, the person who's behind who has less stuff gets a bit more time to actually be a bit more tactical in how he has a fight because he can do better micro, which means that it's a way to mitigate the fact that one player is ahead in a way that's not kind of superficial, like a push to win button. And I think that this is like a similar idea in Quake as well with the item timings. It's very important that the player out of control can have maybe a slightly more precise ability because he's got less things to worry about in controlling the entire map to be able to get back into the game. And I think it's the same, it's the same kind of an argument in the sense that in Valorant, there's already so many ways to get into the game and so many different things. Just remove the thing that's tedious and remove the thing that doesn't actually add to the skill ceiling.
Yeah, and I think like, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Em.
Do you think they did this to make it more accessible and then thus create a more thriving competitive environment for the future of the game? Like if you remove all of the 200 IQ big brain stuff and you just focus on the core gameplay, more people will be able to get into it and create teams, and then more teams will be more competitive because they don't have to worry about that, higher IQ stuff, higher level stuff like money system and economy.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to this game that is like that. And I think there's a lot to this game that actually encourages also playing it in as a team, as opposed to wanting to pug it as much, although obviously, pugging will be a thing because of the way that they've taken this approach. Because everything's a bit more consistent and because of defender's advantage, it's going to be, I think, really obvious to people that you can't just, like in Counter-Strike with like a right eye peek or something, you can't just swing out of positions and just get killed. If you have this kind of an approach to this game, you're going to hit a ceiling pretty quickly. You're going to have to work with others. And so having more information in this way, I think creates an environment that's more consistent for a team to work from. So they have more protocols. It's easier to make protocols as to how they should respond as a group or a unit. And so in having these aspects of the game more clearly defined, I think it creates more clear responses, which creates more structure to gameplay, even at a lower level, which gets more people into what actually is, I think, the point of the game and the point of tactical FPS, which is team play. Playing together is to feel like you're part of, like I'm holding, it's just like a simple thing, just like holding an angle for someone, having like a crossfire, like that simple thing is just, I think, one of the most compelling parts of a game like a tactical FPS, whether it be Counter-Strike or Valorant or whatever it is.
And I think it's probably a safe bet to look at Riot's first game, right? They wanted to make a MOBA. They made one that generically is universally easier to understand and easier to play than Dota. Not necessarily easy, but easier, right? Changed, tweaked, some mechanics gone away, some mechanics given to everybody. So I wonder if they, from the dev standpoint, kind of had the same thing. We want to make a shooter. We're going to call it a tac shooter, but it ain't going to look like PUBG. It doesn't look like a tactical shooter. It doesn't look realistic, for one. And I think, again, much like League of Legends, they decided this information is not important as a skill mechanic. We're going to give it to everybody. These silos of info everybody gets, and their skill will come from XYZ, not ABC. And again, I think to your point, Anthony, absolutely. I wouldn't say they're trying to dumb their game down, but they're looking, to Daniel's point, they're looking at mechanics that just don't really matter if you're an expert at them or not, and deciding what's important and what isn't, and kind of, again, if all the ultimates were private, and 5 ultimates come rolling in on me, and it's 1v3, that's not as fun as if my team knows they're coming, right? I can prepare better for that. So that makes a better fan experience to watch too, right?
I will even add that none of the ultimates are an I win button, like in Overwatch, for example, where
good point.
You have an ultimate, and I'm going to win against anybody because of this ability.
Oh yeah, like Breach's ability, I think, which is Rolling Thunder, is it confuses people in a wide area, but it does hardly any damage, if I'm not mistaken. So to your comment, Jason, yeah, I love that they not like pre-nerfed abilities in this game, so that they're not something you rely on to win around.
Yeah, and I think like Jason said, and this is what Sal kind of emulated from all his videos, including this weekend, is like they're kind of meant to be utility-like. The ultimate, a little different, but the other abilities are your flashes, are your nades, are some sort of movement thing. And again, as we talked about it played great. It played really, really good. I can't wait for the mass to start playing it, because, closed beta, everyone's very excited. A lot of people are making content, so less focused on playing the game as it should be played. So it'll be very interesting. I've got another question, and we want to talk to you about guns. Right? So first question, do you care that both sides have the exact same possibility to buy? Like Counter-Strike is obviously different. Does that matter? Or is that one of those, again, things that just don't fucking matter?
I think it's cool because it's, again, what's interesting about this game is like, I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head in the sense that they're really, they're making this game accessible. They're really emphasizing what is attack FPS. And it doesn't the things that don't matter, like, just because it doesn't have like the kind of more realistic graphics, like does that really matter? It's about the gameplay, and they found a way to make the gameplay fun. I think that this is another element of that, whereby it ties into intuitiveness for for a low barrier to entry, as well as making things good in terms of the competitive levels or the competitive integrity. Because with the weapons, as you say, everyone can run the same guns on either side. There's no like identity that if you're on the defensive side, you have to pick up an M4. You can't take an AK, which we'd rather have. I like the consistency behind that. I think that ultimately also for the people that are more casual, they get to have more of an identity, not only just behind the character that the agent that they're playing, but also kinds of loadouts that they want to use. I think that's a good thing. I think also is good because generally speaking, it's much harder to, I think, figure out like balance issues. If you have one side who has different weapons, it just creates a layer of complexity that you can definitely have it there, but I don't know if it just creates more headaches than not. And I'm sure they must have thought about this quite a lot. So, and I actually like as well, it's funny that the guns are pretty much all just Counter-Strike guns in the way that they function. They're pretty much almost all there. I don't think there's really anything that's particularly different per se.
The Krieg is missing, according to Frankie. She wants the Krieg, and she's missing the Krieg, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. We had to kick her off the call at that point.
One reason for CS players to like this game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I love that already. Like in terms of the guns, like I was thinking about this when I was trying to work out like on a pistol round. Like, okay, what makes sense on a pistol round for me? Like, okay, what kind of play? And it's like, actually, the cool thing actually about this is they have the Glock in here, which is like the stock pistol I think that you're shooting right now on screen, as the burst fire, and it feels different because all the bullets that come out at once, as opposed to kind of like almost staggered, like 1.6. But it is actually kind of good, like 1.6. If you get in someone's face and you use it, it's going to do something. Unlike CS:GO, that was kind of cool.
You know what I love about that gun, Daniel? Sorry,
yeah, tell me.
Sorry. I thought you're done.
Go for it.
I love that. Like in 1.6, you could bunny hop and jump and still be accurate while bursting with the classic, like you could with the Glock in 1.6. So that makes for a tactic if you're rushing into on pistol round where one guy could go in just bouncing around like a madman shooting, and then another one comes in while that guy's distracted. I like that some of the guns are accurate when you're jumping. The ones that make sense, at least, like the Glock burst fire and the shotgun.
That brings up a generic question to all of you. How did you feel the movement penalty based on gun aim was? Like, is it pretty good? You got to be walking, you got to be methodical, or your aim's all over the place. How was the movement difference with the aiming?
With the spread of the bullets?
Yeah, like trying to run and shoot, running and gunning. Is it terrible? Do you really have to slow down?
It's awful. Yeah, no, you have to definitely hit your counter strafe in order to hit a good shot while you're moving.
So I was
even
playing
did
Doom the week before, and the idea of not moving and shooting just took me probably 2 games.
Yeah, you never stop moving in Doom, right? Yeah.
During these recoil clips here, I did a bunch of shots where I jumped and shot to see which gun had a penalty with when you're jumping, and pretty much all of them, except for, like I said, the shotgun, the burst Glock, had a really substantial spread and bloom on the bullets when you're in midair.
Okay. Yeah, so again, in that sense, very similar to most FPSs.
Right.
If you move, you're going to get penalized with your aim abilities, or accuracy at least. Okay, DDK, favorite gun, worst gun?
This is a really interesting question. This is designed to be a short answer, but I'm not going to short answer, Scott.
I never short answer, so you don't have to.
I'm going to have to pick the same gun as every Counter-Strike game, which is going to be the Sheriff, the Deagle, the equivalent. Although one interesting balance decision they made here is that if you're outside of 30 meters and you connect a headshot, it does 145 damage as opposed to 150. This is a key difference because if you buy the full armor as opposed to the light armor, it requires 150 damage to kill someone. So if you're playing a deco kind of round where you just get the sheriffs and not much else, you'll have to actually get close to the defenders to actually get the one-shot kill. So they always get a chance to reposition potentially, because hitting that second shot at that range is probably not going to happen in the second bullet. So that's one interesting balance behind that. But yeah, that's probably my favorite gun. The worst gun, I feel like I'm going to say, right now, I'm going to say the Operator, because I presume when people start to learn how to use the abilities, it's going to be very hard to use on the defense. I think it's going to be way more effective and impactful on the offense, which might sound a bit weird, but I think in the current game with like good opponents, I think it's going to be really hard to use the AWP equivalent, the Operator. So it's not the worst gun. I mess with the LMGs, but I just wanted to throw out a point there that I think that the sniper in this game is going to be hard to use because of all of the abilities that block line of sight and the intel abilities that will force you out of position too. And also the wall banging, which denies you peeks if people know that you are there, because the bullets will go through the corner of the wall. So that's another way to define your angle.
Well, and just like everything else, it's hard to tell this weekend because everyone's learning maps, learning characters, learning everything. Once people learn the maps, learn the angles, know where those operators are going to stand to cut off angles, like you said, so much can be thrown at them to block them, to fuck them that doesn't happen in Counter-Strike. It'll be very interesting. I don't think it'll end up being, like to your point, like you said, as powerful as like the op is to us, right? A must-have gun every game, basically, once you have the money for a team. Someone has an op. All right. Well,
Dan, real quick, what did you think about the crosshair on the unscoped sniper?
The crosshair on the unscoped sniper?
Yeah.
I believe that's what he asked. You're right.
Yeah, I actually don't have any thoughts on this. I don't think that it really detracts from what I felt like. The no-scoping didn't feel as good as Counter-Strike, but I didn't mess with it too much because I stayed away from the sniper mostly in my limited kind of experience playing the game so far.
And then Gonna put your caster hat on for a minute now, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
How do you feel as a professional Counter-Strike broadcaster about the potential of this game? As Jason and I have coined a phrase, does it esport? Does it esport well? Would this be something? And again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Does this game excite you not only as a player, but maybe as as a broadcaster who would want to maybe talk about the game to others and commentate it?
Yeah, I think firstly, just because I have so much Counter-Strike knowledge and all of the concepts to kind of go across one-to-one, and then there's just like this added layer of intricacy with the abilities, and there's so much to learn in that sense. That just is exciting for me because, as you said, like I'm someone who really enjoys just learning mechanics of games. That's just something I've been doing for so many years now, and so that's just kind of stimulating as it is. And one thing I'm working on is producing a show that will kind of be like an analytical hub for a lot of the discussion around this game in particular, just because I find it fascinating.
Awesome.
I think does it esport well is I think that what they've done here, which I think is really interesting, I saw this. It seemed to kind of, if you read between the lines in the sense of what they've chosen to do as opposed to what they could have done, it really feels like they are trying to reduce RNG as much as possible in how the tactical FPSs normally would play out. And that's really interesting because it is this premise for me that, by doing that, not only are you going to make it a little bit less frustrating for the casual player base. Let's say you're not going to get there's no such thing as a one-way smoke. That's a really frustrating thing. It's kind of just a knowledge thing. Someone nerded out long enough to find a one-way. When you figure out what a one-way is, you won't die to it again. It's a gimmick, and that's kind of annoying. But it's enabled because of the randomness behind the way that smokes work in CS:GO, as well as stuff like sitting in a smoke and you get a one-way as it did, like in the last like half second of it dissipating in CS, which is also really frustrating. And how could you possibly know that as a casual player or even as a pro? It's just like really random. It feels like in terms of the outcome. Stuff like Molotov spreads in CS:GO, which are also just random. And just as a professional, random things like this frustrate you because as a professional, you've done these things thousands and thousands of times to not understand how to calculate something when you're making a play and to get kind of fucked over by it. That's really unappealing, honestly, as a competitor. So they've removed as much of these kinds of things as they possibly could out of this, and they've created consistency in places where normally there isn't, like the spawns, as I mentioned, like. The map is going to have those barriers, which means that every single time you can run specifically the kind of setup that you want with the players that you want. It's not like in CS where maybe you have spawn-based positions for your defense or offense. So I think that they have thought a lot about how this game is going to play out as an esport. My only concern, which I voiced to them, was because of all the abilities that block line of sight, smokes and walls and so on, and because of how good the wall banging is, and basically every single weapon can penetrate through walls to different extents and damages, but they all can do it. Will there be too many kills off screen or out of line of sight? Because if that could detract from the viewer experience at a professional level, don't know yet. I assume that everyone's going to nerd out and find out how to do all these wall bangs really effectively. So that world might exist at some point. So we'll wait and see. But ultimately, outside of that, I think this game has a lot in terms of the broadcast because the way that the rounds will be set up and the flow of the rounds, where it is this idea of, okay, we see what the lineup is. Maybe there'll be, I mean, I don't know how the esports will run. Is it going to be that there's going to even be a veto system, like that you can actually ban agents in the pool? That would be an interesting idea. Or maybe they'll just leave it completely open so a team can run whatever setup that they want and leave it up to the teams to do the research and figuring out, okay, how does the other team play? What do they run? What is good against that? More similar to, I guess, Overwatch. I didn't really follow Pro Overwatch too much though, but in terms of an esport, I think it has a lot of potential because there's clear ideas, there's consistency. The mechanics of the game are really good and smooth, and they have a high skill ceiling in terms of the aiming and the executional elements like that of those mechanics, and from all of the abilities and the choices that you can make and the way that the maps work. As a broadcaster, you can as we have we have full information as broadcasters, but the players have enough of a picture of what's going on, like you mentioned, in terms of what they're going to be up against. So we have so much to build in terms of narratives and storylines within the matches before they start, as they're happening, in periods of downtime, and then during the action, you have that kind of high skill thing where individuals will also shine, as well as seeing the team elements on a grander scale. So I think it has all of the kind of areas that should be quite visible. And because it's not kind of Overwatch in the sense that there's a really fast time to kill, and it's not just a huge clusterfuck of stuff happening right in one place, all these particle effects. Hopefully they'll solve any issues with that, and they're gonna take the best of Counter-Strike and just make it more interesting and not detract from the skill setting. So I think it could do very well as an esport. I think as a spectator experience.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier before you were on, like some of the things that, since it is so much like Counter-Strike, some of the exact same things that make Counter-Strike so perfect as a broadcast game, right? With the breaks between each round to give you guys a chance to chat, a halftime, a slow ramp of excitement, round win, but then match win at the end, right? That just leans right into this game as well, right? Again, spectator tools need to be a little better. There's a lot more on the screen in this game than there will ever be in Counter-Strike. I said all these abilities going off, not as bad as the pixel storms that end up on an Overwatch Pro stream, but again, that is their challenge, though. How can we show that? Show the skills involved and all that, and not just have a cluster of pixels all over our screen. So that will be a challenge. But again, they've done so many things right. I imagine their spectator tools, and I imagine they're asking the right people about spectator tools. I imagine they'll be pretty solid. I know you didn't say you're going to cast it, so I'm not going to get you to say yes or no to that. We'll play it by ear, DDK, to see if you become a professional Riot broadcaster for the VALORANT Championship Series. It's called the VCS. I'm going to call this today. I'm not the first person to call it. This game will be franchised eventually by Riot, much like LCS. They will have something called the VCS or something very similar. They will franchise this. It might take a couple years, but I bet they like LCS. They'll do something similar, I bet. And why wouldn't they? Anyway,
now.
I have no more. What was that?
Copyright it now, so they have to pay you.
Nah, they probably already have all the stuff figured out. I mean, again, they like to franchise their esports, so I imagine they like how LCS is operating for them. They'll probably do something very similar with this game. Now, hopefully they wait a while and let it out there for a while. I mean, Overwatch did that, and then they yanked it all back in. So we'll see how they approach it. I'm an open esports guy. I like open ecosystems, but I don't think Riot's going to keep it open. Just my own thought on it. Final thoughts from you. Any questions? First off, Jason, Anthony, final thoughts, questions, I should say, for Daniel before we let him get back to his world and his content creation.
I mean, do you see a future or a timeline where you get involved in that game? Both maybe competitively or as a analyst?
I'm definitely going to be playing quite a lot because I think the game's really fun. And I'll make a quick point on this because obviously there's a lot of people that look at me as a Counter-Strike guy, and as Scott kind of mentioned in
you're a Quake guy to me.
Yeah, I've done so many things over the years, played Quake at a top level, and I'm going to try to compete in Diabotical because it's just still really fun for me, and if the time works out, I'll do it. Valorant, I'll probably be playing. It's really fun to explore new games with friends because I'm not trying to be a professional Counter-Strike player. I'm not trying to be necessarily a professional Valorant player or anything like that. It is just really fun to just get in there and just explore these ideas, especially because there's so many things. If you are feeling familiar with these other games that this draws inspiration from, there's a lot here for you. And for those people, I think that are watching the streams and the content so far that's coming out, I would definitely, if you're on the fence in any sense, I would definitely advise you to make sure that you wait until you play the game, until you kind of give your thoughts, like cement your thoughts on it, because actually watching this game at the moment and kind of playing it is very different because no one really knows what they're doing just yet. And on top of that, it does look a little bit like the visuals would normally be something that impresses you if you're somebody that's new to something and you haven't played it yet. But this game is actually about the gameplay. The gameplay is really, really satisfying. So just definitely give it some time if you're on the fence. But in terms of myself playing it, I'm going to be doing loads of that. I would like to do a lot of content for this game, analytically speaking, because again, I've got this Counter-Strike knowledge, and I don't want to put it to waste necessarily, and I'm doing Counter-Strike content all the time anyway. And especially right now, there's less Counter-Strike events going on, so I have more time in that sense. So thinking about this game is just really fun. So I'm looking to put something together, and I have somebody else who is also looking to work on this that people will be excited about, and we'll be doing analytical content. So basically talking about all the ideas and concepts and the bigger picture stuff, but also kind of the more directly applicable stuff if you're just a beginner and you're like, what do I choose and how do I choose that? What are some good practices? How can I synergize with my friend? And how can we make plays? Or what are some principles we should be aware about, as well as just like analyzing like how the pro level will be like, looking at the game. So basically just like a all levels analysis kind of content for it. That's something that's happening right now for me. So that's something for people to look forward to. My Twitter link is down there. So,
Exactly.
I think we all hope to see
Give this
some
man a
theory
follow.
crafting from you. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. I loved your diabolical streams during those closed betas where you were breaking it all down and messing with shit and experimenting with jumping off walls and shit. Does this work? Does that work compared to Quake? This is how you do it in Quake. Here's how you do it in Diabolical. It was just really informative, but also it's kind of like Sacriel. I don't know if you ever watched Sacriel, also a UK streamer. He's also very much an information break it down kind of guy, but he gives it to his fans in a way that you can digest, right? He doesn't keep it super high level. And you do that. You kind of, you explain it, but then you kind of layman term it a little bit, which some of us need, right? So yeah, great stuff. Jason, did you have a question for him before we send him on his way?
I got one. One thing that drove me nuts about the game, and we kind of talked about the pace of it, but the walking speed just felt like I was in molasses. Like I constantly wanted to shift tap to speed up a little bit. And the second you do it, it sounds like you dropped a load of bricks on the ground and stepped on glass. I mean, it's fucking loud when you run. Like, what do you think about the walk speed?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question because this game is, I think this is like a really complex question. And again, I think it's something that Riot has thought about a lot because there's supposed to be a punish, obviously, when you're running. And because when you're running, you're trying to quickly get somewhere. So it's I think in their eyes, it's about the fact that you created like setups and that there should be information. That should be the cost of you deciding to move quickly in this game. So for me, I did notice, like for me, it's a little bit slow, but I had just been playing loads of Diabolical, which is like obviously absurdly quick. But I felt like it kind of made sense in the fact that like generally speaking, when I was going to move to take a position, unless I was doing it alone and therefore lurking and walking anyway, I was going to be doing it with a teammate and we're going to be taking an engagement or dropping abilities. So it kind of felt like it fit in with the flow of that. Or it was the case that you get a teleporter to do a quick rotation as well. Like there's possibilities to speed yourself up around the map. So at the moment, I want to kind of, I'm definitely still thinking about it. I don't have a conclusion to how I think if it's like really good or if it could be tweaked or not, because I think there's actually so much going on in this game. I don't feel like I know what all of the implications might be if you actually sped that up at this point, especially because they might change the maps too. Maybe they actually decide the maps are a little bit too small or a bit too big, or something, or vice versa. So, but yeah, I definitely agree. It does feel slow, and because you can't kind of like get super sick bunnies as well, it does feel like you can kind of bunny a little bit. They did remove the movement penalty, but then there's just like a cap on like how fast you can go. It feels like, but yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, they said there's a hard cap on that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, that makes sense.
It feels pretty good ultimately when you get used to it, I think.
Yeah, I noticed the very first thing when my very first match, I'm like, am I sprinting? Am I not sprinting? Am I running? Is this the normal speed? Am I fucking this up? Did I not have a keybind to go faster? And then I just realized, okay, those are the two speeds. I have one final question. It's an easy one.
Yeah.
I think this one came from Jason. With Counter-Strike, Doom, Diabolical, and now Valorant out or coming out soon, is this the greatest time since 2001 to be an FPS fan?
Oh. You know what? That's actually.
You could throw Warzone in there too, a little Call of Duty.
Yeah. I think the answer probably has to be yes, because interestingly, whether or not you like Valorant, I think it's going to be, and if you're a CS person, this should definitely put a fire under Valve's arse to actually make some improvements to CS:GO. And obviously, we've had it seems like the rumors are circulating with Source 2 and the move across to that.
Yeah.
Now, the question of what the true implications are for that and the quality of life changes that may follow for the game, is debatable because we don't really know what Valve, how they look at things. But one of the things that you'll notice if you're going across from CS to Valorant is that the level of polish on your experience, just opening the game and playing it and so on, is just so significantly higher than it is in Counter-Strike at the moment. that I'm hoping that Counter-Strike will, they'll try to actually step up their game. So that could be one thing. If you don't like Valorant and you want to stay with CS, you might get the benefit of Valorant coming out. With Valorant as well, I think obviously it's a super fun game if you're a attack FPS fan, really fun. I know that a lot of Battle Royale players have been kind of tired of the staleness of that genre and the fact that it's kind of like almost like a pseudo esport in certain senses. It can kind of work, you can make it competitive, but for a lot of them that are truly competitive, they don't feel like it's kind of like if you look at Quake or StarCraft. If you just look at these games, they're just like purely just oozing competitive integrity. Yeah. Like these games, nothing fucking with your experience. If you're better than the other person, you have a platform to go and beat them. There's nothing that's going to fuck with that, and you can just go and do that.
Yeah, no RNG,
and I think that,
or very limited RNG. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think this game will provide that. And as you say, like with Diabolical coming out too, it's like a renaissance of what Quake actually is. Because for me, like Quake Champions was a huge turnoff because they kind of confused the identity of what Quake was. And it's fine if I say confused, maybe it's deliberate, they just wanted to take it into a different direction. But for me, I felt like you have this huge legacy. It's so important, this legacy. I don't feel like it would really try to change your identity. Shouldn't try to be something that you're not there. And that's all. I kind of felt like that's what the direction that they went with it, unfortunately. And Diabolical is an incredibly good, like if you look at Valorant and Diabolical as well, these two games have incredibly good engines. And they have everything's very low latency. Everything's extremely smooth. The movement systems feel like very good, especially when you get used to them. And Diabolical also has a lot of quality of life changes and kind of it has some tweaks and interesting innovations to that base kind of legacy Quake concept that actually do really well. So yeah, as an FPS player, I think you should be loving life in 2020 for sure. I think it's actually like so exciting. I think we've been missing these things for a long time.
It's been a dry spell. It really has, right? Other than the Call of Duty fans who get a new version of their game, every year or so.
Every month.
But yeah, I just wanted to yeah, it definitely seems like it. But yeah, what a resurgence of FPS. And again, I hope Diabolical becomes our dueler, because that game is just great. Yeah. It should just need people to play it and people to watch it, because the game is the game's awesome. Game's awesome. All right, sir. Well, thank you very much for taking your Friday during the embargo day to come chat with us. Are you streaming today? What are you doing today? How can people, other than people following you on Twitter, this is where you give a shout out, say how much you love us, especially Jason. He needs a little love today. But yeah, how do people find you? Are you going to stream later on today? Are you doing drops yourself, et cetera, et cetera?
The drops I'm working out because I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure my channel's partnered. It's actually, this is like a really weird thing because I don't even know, because it happened so many years ago that I think it got partnered, and then things changed. Now there's like affiliates and stuff. I don't know how it's all working, but I have to actually double in the case of or in the process of double checking that. But I will be streaming some VODs and everything like everybody else, and I've dropped a couple of matches on my YouTube already, and I'm releasing a podcast which is just me talking for 30 minutes on some of my initial thoughts of the game. So and it's kind of tailored towards the Counter-Strike person, and sort of just a broad overview of what the game, my impressions of the game, as we kind of did here, similarly. So that's going out to all the podcast platforms. But yeah, Twitter is really the best way to kind of see everything that I'm doing. So perfect. That link is there. And thank you to you guys, by the way, for having me on. It's really fun to chat about stuff like this, and I'm honored that you chose to get me on the show.
Yeah, you provide great insight. It was refreshing, honestly.
Yeah, and once we all open our doors back up and we can go back to work in our studio, it'd probably be great to get you out or get you again on the breakdown or one of our other shows once we get up and running again, to kind of check back in with you on how you think Valorant's doing. Now, if you're in LA, we can probably get you to Phoenix once we all can be near each other again. That would be great to have you in the studio and have a nice and maybe whoever your partner in crime is who's doing this content with you. Maybe, I don't know, you didn't mention them, but I want to ask you to mention them, but maybe it's a secret, but maybe we can work something out and kind of get your guys' thoughts on some stuff as this game gets out there and grows. But again, thank you so much for coming. Good luck in this trying time. Freelancer, by the way, in that sense. So stay safe to you and yours. And again, thank you so much again, Daniel, for spending some time with us today and letting our audience know your thoughts, because you're a big brain guy, so it's great to hear your thoughts on this game.
Thanks, Dan.
Likewise, guys. Stay safe, wash your hands and all that.
Yes, wash your hands a lot. And speaking of washing your hands, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we got more to talk about. We're going to go in a little bit more detail into the agents and have a little
Yes.
point counterpoint between the two people on either side of me. They're a
There's
little
really
spicy.
no counterpoint.
Yeah.
I'm right. He's
The-
wrong. Okay.
This guy signs your paycheck on this side of me.
I thought
So
this
this
did.
guy should remember that on this. All right. He doesn't send the paycheck.
And we got a montage of me dying a lot.
We got a montage. Yeah, we're going to make fun of alchemists. Speaking of what we're already doing,
Which is
we're going
why
to
he
talk
was
about the
mad all
agents some
weekend.
more. Yeah, we're going to go into kind of some of the training room stuff, and you can see some of the other tools that are in place for you to mess around, check guns and stuff within the game, and then some more gameplay. Got a couple more matches to play as we wrap up the day. So go wash your hand, go to the bathroom, then wash your hands. Come right back. Be back after the break.
Or both.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully you all washed your hands for officially 20 seconds, doing all that good stuff. All right, great show so far. Again, thanks, folks, for joining us. We were very lucky to be invited to this test weekend to be part of this whole thing. So thanks again to Riot for inviting us. Thank you all for watching. We are enabled for drops if you're just showing up. So for you to be eligible for a drop from Riot, all you have to do is connect your Twitch channel to your Riot account via the Twitch system. Once that's connected, you're good to go. Our stream today, other streams later on today are all turned on for it. Basically, if you were a partner in some regard of Twitch and you were part of the weekend, you got access to do drops today if you talked about it during the embargo. So let's get back into the next step. We kind of jumped around a little bit because that's my fault as always. Let's talk a little bit more depth, a little bit. Just, hey, it's just another version of the breakdown, man. Got to keep it around the
end of the
toes.
show at one point.
Yeah. All right. So wrapping up now. Thank you so much for coming. No, let's talk about the agents in a little bit more detail. Anthony made us a nice kind of agent video, kind of slowly walking through all the abilities. So we're going to go ahead and play that and kind of talk over it. So let's now kind of talk about each of these guys. Which ones did you? Let's start with who you played, Anthony. We'll start with you. So we know you played Omen. What else did you get a chance to test?
Sova, Sage, Phoenix, Viper, Jet. I played all of them except Brimstone and Breach.
Okay. And Jason, what about you?
I played Sova, Phoenix, and Jet. Jet was always like the first pick that anybody wanted to get, so not easy to get.
Gotcha. And of course, this is Breach, the new one. This is the one I played the very first time, and I didn't realize that half his abilities are actually like wall hacks. They go through and then explode. You send a flash through the wall and then it explodes. And I thought they were just flashes, so I was like trying to bounce them off walls and not even realizing that they were going through the wall. And then I obviously dry peeking die. So there's another example of what a flash looks like.
Is that a lot of them go through the walls, and that's
a lot. Yeah, that was really weird. And again, that's my fault.
They're like ethereal.
Exactly. And again, they have tooltips. If you hit F1, you hit F1 and you'll see all your tooltips. You'll see what your shit does. But I was scrambling to try to read it and not lose for my team.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, it's a flash. Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm like, oh, that's not
spent like 30 seconds in spawn every round trying to figure out what the hell my character
so it'll
does.
be really cool once everybody learns everything. But yeah, so Breach, again, 9 active agents right now, but word from Riot is that there will be plenty of them. There's meant to be a lot. Now, I don't know if there's meant to be 150 like there is close to whatever it happens to be in League of Legends these days, but there'll be plenty, I imagine. So now we're on to Brimstone. Brimstone, badass. They look, like you said, Jason, earlier in the show, Brimstone and Breach must be brothers or something related. They look too much alike.
This guy's
got red hair, gray beard.
Every team. For sure.
Yes, Brimstone seems to be so.
Sky Smoke is so OP.
Yeah, because he's the one that can pick the smokes on the mini map and drop them, right?
For sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is like the equivalent of a molly. This incendiary, and that does hurt you. This stim beacon just makes you shoot faster than it normally would. So you stand in it and you get a bleeding effect when you leave the circle. So that's pretty nice. So you could throw that at a choke point for your team. They can run through it.
It affects teammates too, right?
Yes, it does. Yep.
It's
so they run
AOE,
through it,
awesome.
get the effect, leave it, and then they have increased firing speed as they're taking a site. It's really, really powerful.
And there's his ult, which is great.
His ult is insane.
His ult
really
is
useful
insane.
for a bomb.
But again, telegraphed. Everyone knows it's coming.
Right.
But it is pretty beastly. There's no doubt.
But if you
Cypher.
if you could stack abilities, that'll be super useful at all. Yeah, Cypher is like your espionage guy. He has all the things that allow you to sort of scope out where the guy is without actually having him in the line of sight. Like this tripwire, he goes through it. It shows you where they are through the wall. And there is no pulse effect, so it's constantly showing you. This is a cyber cage where you go through it, you slow down as you go through it, and it also blocks vision. And you have an audible sound that plays. And this is the spy cam, which is really freaking cool. You put that on the wall, and now you have a camera, and you can attach that to somebody, which shows them where they are through the wall in a pulsing motion. And then this is his ultimate, where it basically shows where the entire team is that's alive. By using, you have to have a dead body though. You can't do it with any alive body or anything. You have to have other teams.
So he has to activate on a dead body, and then I think one of the cool things about the spy cam.
And then you can pull the dart out really quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then
this is Scott's point of view.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that plays a sound on you.
Hey, let's pause it real quick if you can, Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Ask your question, Scott.
Well, it wasn't a question. It was more of but now I've lost my train of thought.
Skycam.
It was about the
so
spike.
The cool thing about the cam is when he plants that cam, the camera is invisible to everybody else in the server unless it's active. So it's not like, so you can throw that camera in a bomb site or somewhere, and as long as you're not viewing what the camera's giving you, I, as the enemy, would not know there's a camera in the wall. But as soon as he turns that camera on to watch it, it lights up for me, right? But it's hidden until then, because otherwise it would be useless. Like I'd see a camera, I'd shoot it, right?
So you can
so
see
kind
it
of
when
neat how they
gets planted. Yeah.
Can you?
see
And then it
when
goes
initially
away?
gets planted, and then it slowly fades into the wall until you activate it.
Ah, okay.
So
Gotcha.
that initial point where I attached it to the wall, you could see it attach itself, but because I activated it right away, it popped out. But if you see on Jason's point of view, oh, did you see it in my there? How it went invisible? So there's
Yeah.
like a half-second delay on it becoming invisible to everybody.
From placement to like invisibility. Gotcha. And then as soon as you use it and you're actively watching it, it lights up for everybody to see that. It's on.
Yep, and then you could shoot it. I mean, there's always
And you can destroy it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
always
him
a
on
combat to it.
Him on defense was just crazy because you could really hold down a site by yourself because you could choke off like 2 angles and then you could get your spy camera and you could hold one site. The map with the 3 bomb site, Haven, I believe it is. Yeah, Haven. Like we would just have one guy at A and it was that character and he would just watch everything. Like,
Gotcha. Now Jet.
and then you could
So
do it too.
Jet's obviously so far a main, probably much like
Jeez.
Brimstone. I mean, again, work in progress, mind you, and just started playing it. But it seems like everyone had a Jet, everyone had a Brimstone. Is
Yeah,
this the
she's got her
Tracer of this
smoke.
game in that sense? Not Tracer
I'd
in the
say
sense
she's
of
the-
abilities, but
yeah, she's
but
the fast
iconic.
one.
Yeah.
She's the one that kind of move around and use her speed and her momentum to be a detractor.
now Phoenix, I played this one once. This one I had a better idea of what I was doing, but my biggest thing on this one was God, that flash is so
That flash is
close. Like you
brutal.
have to, you're in such a
Short.
dangerous
Short.
position. It's
Yeah,
so
and
short.
you could do it to yourself. Yeah, but here's the thing: you can turn like a regular flash. See, it doesn't affect you.
Yes, yeah.
And here's the thing:
Or
you
affects you
cannot
less,
throw
yeah.
that straight. You throw it with
There is no
left
straight
click or
option.
right click, and it curves it either way. But you cannot throw it straight on. And this is like an incendiary. But the difference between this and I think Brimstone's incendiary is that this one heals you because you're quote unquote a Phoenix. So, fire heals as Phoenix.
Yeah.
So you can see the blue vignette that occurs around you, and you can see it in the bottom corner of your HUD over the HP. It shows that it's healing. Also, this is a cool wall. So if you just throw it while looking straight, it throws it straight, but you can curve it around things if you flick your mouse, which is what I showed there. And that also heals Phoenix if you're standing in it.
Yeah, and
It's like
that wall,
running
once
back real
someone
quick.
knows how to throw it,
That like
very,
this, and you
very
have
OP.
to really flick your mouse. If once we get past this part, and we show the wall
Yep.
again. Watch how much I have to flick my mouse because I want to curve it really tight around that corner. You have to almost do a 180 to achieve that.
Yep. Like look at you almost turned almost completely around to flip it.
And then I killed you, and while I'm standing in it, I'm healing. So you could throw that, stand in it, and take on fights, and pretty much have.
Yeah, so some of
how
these
much
abilities
damage
aren't
you're
just
getting.
like a defensive barrier to keep people away. It's like here's my barrier, but I'm coming right through it. It's going to make me
Exactly.
even stronger against you. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
you could stand
interesting.
like
I
half in
can't
it
wait.
and use it.
I can't wait to see, once everyone has the game dialed, 2 top tier teams go at this game. Because this weekend
my
there were
girl
some
here.
pugs going, but even they were all still learning. Okay, so Sage
As you
also I
saw-
think going to be
so,
very
yeah.
popular.
Yeah, definitely going to be part of the meta too. So as you can see, Jason was low on health like usual, so I healed him. And then also I was low on health and I could heal myself. This is the barrier orb here. It sets up a wall like May, so that blocks vision. You can shoot that, but it's got a lot of HP. Slow orb just puts like freeze down on the ground, which slows your movement and also makes your footsteps super loud. And then this is the
Teammates,
resurrection
too.
that everybody knows about. Yeah,
And teammates, yeah.
exactly. And teammates, yep. So resurrection ultimate takes 7 points to charge up. You can get those points from killing people or for capping the orb in the map, and that's super useful. But it's really loud. There's like a 2-second delay on it, and you're vulnerable. Both you and the person that's getting res are vulnerable.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so
like we
this is the
talked about, the
character that I
world knows
played
you
the
did it.
most.
This
Okay.
is the Hanzo ripoff.
Yep.
Yeah, let's
So
talk.
one of the
We have to pause
cool,
this
cool
one,
things
brother.
about these arrows is see those 2 little dots. You can actually add with a right click. You can add bounces to those arrows, so you can ricochet those all over the place. So the shock bolt and the recon bolt can be done everywhere. So that pulse that's the shock one. The pulse one, what it does is it'll do kind of a radar or a sonar pulse, but it won't do it
Mhm.
through the walls. So you can see characters through walls, but the arrow needs to be on the other side of the wall. So it's not like
it has to be
Hanzo
in the
where you
line of
can
sight.
see- yeah, you can't reveal people but that are behind walls without
Right.
bouncing the arrow that way. And they can shoot, the other team can shoot the arrow. So
Correct.
it's
Yeah. So let me clarify this. The arrow that is shot has to have LOS with those that it exposes.
Mm-hmm.
correct.
It's not a wall
You-
hack. It wall
No, it
hacks
is
for
not.
you if you're behind the wall, but it has to be in line of sight of whoever it's showing, and it's then destroyable to kill those
Correct.
pulses, right?
And if you're in line of sight, it's probably going to get shot. So it's super. It's actually if the person who's on the other end of it is good at the game, it's not that very good as an ability.
You could
Because if
bait
get
them, right?
shot
Couldn't you
pretty
use it to
quickly,
your advantage?
You could probably do a lot with it. Yeah.
Because I know Sal said that there was a slight delay of the information too, like where this guy is lit up might not be exactly where he is right now.
Yep.
Right?
It's a
And,
pulse.
like,
Right. So you see
yeah.
how he disappeared as I was shooting him.
So a good guy who gets pulsed is going to immediately move somewhere dramatic, right, to get the
Right.
hell away from where you think I am. But
Mhm.
very interesting.
A good
And
guy
again-
would have just shot that dart right away
Yeah, true,
instead
true.
of letting it pulse it.
Now let's talk about it while we're on it. We might need to pause it. You think this is an incredible ripoff of Overwatch's character, Hanzo.
I think,
Jason,
yeah,
you don't quite
I
think
think
so.
a lot of characters are a ripoff of Overwatch's characters. Just saying. I know
I
that
think
Jason
Ripoff
and
or
Blizzard don't
just
get along.
influenced
Inspired
by?
by.
Inspired by?
Heavily inspired.
Based on
even the,
true events?
wait till we get to the ultimate. Even the ultimate is a ripoff of Hanzo's ultimate.
It's
All right,
nothing like Hanzo's ultimate.
Wait,
That
If
doesn't
it's
you
feel
the
don't
al-
think
it's
it's
the
dragon
anything
drone,
like
right?
Hanzo's ultimate, you are blind to your own hatred for Blizzard.
All right, so we'll let this one play through for the ultimate. He's got the drone, right? The Owl drone?
Yes.
He does have the
He
Owl
even
drone,
named
yeah.
it the Owl drone. Of course it's an Overwatch
I'm
ripoff.
just
It's called the Owl
saying.
drone.
I don't know. I think that's sort of like.
Oh, God. Is this Riot going, we can make this character better than you did?
Yeah,
Is that what they did?
basically this is
Pretty
like
much what
them
that,
turning their
that is
nose
what
up to
Riot
their.
does. They're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll make this game better than you, and we'll do this.
I mean,
So,
to be fair, that was Blizzard's thing for a long time as well.
true.
Okay,
exactly.
watch this. This is Anzo.
Oh, here
I
we go.
mean, Sova's ultimate here.
Hunter's Fury, it's called.
Yeah, goes through the wall. Sure, you could shoot it a couple times, but it goes through the wall
You
and does
get
damage.
2 or 3 shots. You
Just saying,
it doesn't
man,
have a
I
giant
just-
dragon at the end.
Here's
Um,
Reaper. This is Reaper's character.
Yeah. What's this?
Just
Watch one more
saying,
time.
man. One more time,
So,
Hanzo.
Yeah, you should have used one where you actually killed somebody with it.
Hanzo. I didn't have one
Oh.
because
Oof.
Um,
Oof.
but the drone ability though, one of the cool things is not only can
Yeah,
you
that
use
helped
it to
clear
scout
angles.
a bomb site. Well, you could use it to scout a bomb site, but if there's somebody there, you can shoot a dart into them, and then everybody in the team can see that guy. Take out Anthony.
Gotcha. So Omen,
Anthony.
this is the character we already watched the first half match of. So this is a character we've already seen a little bit
So
of.
that's
But
that
Omen, why
dark
don't you walk
cover.
us through?
It's basically a smoke grenade for Omen. You know, that's paranoia, which causes confusion if it hits you. And this is the ultimate. Unfortunately, I could never find a good moment to use his short teleportation ability. But this is his ultimate, which teleports you anywhere on the map.
So I played in one game where somebody used that ability to cross a gap when he was in a 1v1, and so then somebody came around the corner, and I guess they weren't listening, and they came around.
Thought he was
looking
the other
right,
way.
and it was the other, yeah, and he was the other way. It was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
great.
No. I'm sure somebody who's better than me could use it properly. I just couldn't.
But ideally, then you could teleport yourself right to the bomb, right? To defuse or to like to
Yeah.
If
like,
you
push,
are-
as long
yes,
as
you
you're
have your
anywhere
ultimate.
you want, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's Viper. Viper has a poison cloud. It's a smoke that does damage to you if you walk through it because it's poison. This is a wall. It's a poison wall. It's like
This
the
was
wall
cool.
from Phoenix, except it's poison. It goes in a straight line, and it has a charge to it. So do you see that green bar in the middle there as it was going down? I don't know if you could rewind that.
Well, you can
So
see it.
Viper,
It's on
yes. So Viper has a toxin canister that depletes as you use her abilities. So her toxin goes down. If it reaches 0, then your ability goes away. But it could stay there for a long time as long as your toxin is filled. That was basically, it was a Molotov, but with poison instead of fire. So again,
Gotcha.
the thing that I found about oh, this is hysterical. This is Viper's Pit, the ultimate. It's basically just a giant poison cloud that will stay up for eternity as long as I'm inside of it. As soon as I leave it,
Yeah.
the bar starts to deplete. The integrity, as they call it, starts to deplete.
And do you heal in that?
You can heal
remember?
in her poison cloud and her poison wall, I think, but I don't think you can heal in
the alts, yeah.
in the alt. I don't know though. 'cause
Gotcha.
I think
Okay.
I don't recall.
And that's it.
I was in it.
So that's 9 of them, and again, more will be coming.
Yeah.
So
I would-
yeah, Sova
So
versus
to
Hanzo.
answer your
Yeah.
question in chat real quick. You should probably learn them all because you need to learn how to counter abilities. So that's the only way you're going to do it is by playing them all. It's first come first serve when you join a server. So you kind of have a lobby screen for about 30 seconds where everybody picks heroes. Then you join the actual game, and once you're in the game, you can't repick. You're stuck with that character. So
Yes, as of right now, your choice locks in for both sides of the match, right? And nobody can pick the same. And but you can. The teams can have. It's not 10-man wide, right? It's only your team can't have 2 Sovas,
Correct.
but
Yes.
each team can have a Sova, right? They haven't made
Correct.
it in that sense, like more like the MOBAs where it's
God, no, that
one
would
character
be
for all of it. Yeah, they need a lot more heroes before they do something like that.
Because
but
there's
yeah.
9 characters and 10 players. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But eventually, you never know. Maybe they'll flip that and like it'll be only one Sova in the server. Who knows? Which again, more like the MOBAs are. All right. Well, let's see where we're at on my list. DDK is done now. This says make fun of
highlight
Alchemist.
clip.
You wrote this. You wrote make fun of Alchemist.
I thought we were doing that the entire show.
Okay, wait. Okay, it says Alchemist dies.
So
There's the
yeah,
run of show.
well-
Alchemist dies right there. Go ahead and
Yeah, let's
roll
take a
the
look at
Alchemist dies video. Let's take a look at
Looks like
Alchemist dying.
production, making fun of him.
we should 3 boxes or 4 boxes.
Oh no, we need to full screen it.
Oh, got killed by Brent.
No.
Oh,
This is my first 2 games. Of
actually,
this
he actually got someone there.
constant. Oh, this is great. This is nobody knows what any abilities are yet. Okay. Hey, what's
Everyone's
going
just
on?
throwing
What's
everything.
that?
Nice flash. Is that team flash?
Oh my god.
No, it's like everybody's.
Look,
oh,
look
what's
at him
that
running
ability?
into. Look
Fuck, I'm trying to-
Shit.
what
runs
happens
into
if you-
Sylvan's ultimate.
if you're near that ult, he can see you through the wall. And of course, I didn't know that shit.
This is actually showing what the alts look like on the opposite end. This is kind of nice.
Hey, Joker, are you still in? Anton, are you still in chat? Joker, you wanted a top 10 from Do Not Peek for Valorant? It's right here. Alchemist, top 10 plays of Valorant. I'm so glad I didn't submit my death clips to this fucking montage.
I feel like I just watched a video on Reddit of like the best silver plays of all time.
The beginning when everyone was throwing everything, I did the exact. I'm like, what does this one do?
Yeah, I had
Oh.
no idea what
Oh,
the fuck's going on. What's that?
I ran
I
into
didn't know how to
B-site
get
on
3
Haven.
arrows.
Yeah, I ran into B-site
Oh,
on
God.
Haven with my alt just out. Not even holding the gun, nothing. Just ran straight into it because I thought that I was invincible.
Oh man. Oh, good times. All right, good of you to be self-effacing. Alchemist made that video of him dying, so like, we
Yeah,
didn't
it was fun.
tease him. Yeah, he did
You know,
it
that's
himself.
how, the thing is, that's how you learn it in these fucking games. So you might as well see it. You know, you guys see
Yeah.
the whole ground turn orange, run the fuck away.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Jason, didn't you play WoW for like a gajillion years? Like you never learned to get out of the fire?
Well, sometimes the orange thing is something that's healing you, and sometimes it's away. You got to
Okay,
learn all the
about
bosses.
99.9% of the time, get the fuck out of the fire.
Yeah, that's a good way to go through life, I guess. Video game wise or not, stay away from fire. That's bad. All right. So, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong. Do we have a video that kind of walks through that training stuff? Were you able to grab that, or did we not get that in time?
Yes, we should.
The training room stuff?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So what we want to show you now is, the game itself also has a whole training area where you can go mess with guns. You can mess with maps. We actually, even last weekend, there was a custom game part opened up, so us three could go in and just run around, mess with our ults, give ourselves unlimited money, already all built into the game itself. So in the training system, to someone who's asking in chat, like, do I have to play in all the heroes? Do I have to learn all these agents? This would be a good way where you could probably learn a lot of their kits and a lot of how they operate without having to maybe actually play them in matches particularly. You can at least get an idea, throw everyone's everything, and kind of get a vibe for it. Again, I think it's really cool that they've included something like that because, again, a game like this, I think even Counter-Strikers are saying, can we get a training ground where we can shoot the guns or something, man, and mess with recoil? So this kind of thing, I think, is just really, all game developers should do this. It's part tutorial, part, skill tests. Use all the guns and stuff. Did you mess with this, Jason?
Yeah, this is I think my video. So if it's shitty, it's why.
Fair enough.
So one of the things that they do is if you kind of look right above that screen is the aim sensitivity. You can actually change your mouse speed without leaving the game or bringing up the menu. So you can just absolutely nail your mouse sensitivity while you're in the training room. And there's a couple different modes that they'll do. And you can make yourself reload or not reload or different type of just settings. That's about it. You can get out of there.
Yeah, that's very smart.
It's just very handy to have built in the game.
Yeah, because, a lot of games, and even this game, has a tutorial that kind of starts you through. But after that, and that's one of the things I liked about Apex, right? Apex has that area you can go and grab the guns and fuck around, right? No pressure, no drop, no hoping you randomly find the gun to go practice with. You can do that. So I think this is great that they added that. And again, because in the Counter-Strike world, most of these kind of things are third-party maps that someone else has made, right?
Yeah.
So it's great that they've embedded this thing for all of us to use. So yeah, that was kind of cool. So they had a little training room going, and again, I imagine all of these things will get expanded upon as we go forward. Now we're going to shift gears. We watched we watched Anthony play a full match earlier. Now we're going to get in the eyes of Alchemist and watch an Alchemist win. Well, I don't know if he won the match, so I can't say winning video, but it'll be hopefully better than the one we just watched with all the deaths.
I think
maybe
Anthony
some of the deaths.
I can't see yet if Anthony's in this one.
Do we have a complaint counter up?
Yeah.
No.
Now, which character?
We're not gonna track it that odd. So this
who are
is
you playing on
Sova.
this one?
So yeah, Anthony's in this one. So
and what map is this?
This is Bind.
The 3? This is Bind.
This is Cronenberg Santa Claus.
Yeah. Yeah, you tweeted that yesterday. I'm like, what the fuck? And then you look at the minimap. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah. So you're my R, which is for me R, but it's different for everybody. Or because I rebind all my keys, but that's my sonic arrow, and that will recharge as the map goes on. So in 30 seconds, I get that back. So that's your, when it'll say your signature ability is ready, that means that I can have my sonic arrow back. And I usually start a round off with just scouting an area. And
and every agent has agent has that signature. It's default binded to E, but again, everything is rebindable, so people do that based on their keyboards. But yeah, that's kind of your core. Don't have to pay for it. It's yours kind of thing. Spike dropped. Now, while we're talking about this, you planted the spike. Diffusing works different than Counter-Strike, right? We've got a new additional mechanic added on the diffusing side of this beast. You want to walk through that, Jason?
Yeah, so you can, when you diffuse it, you can actually diffuse it at 50% and walk away. And if it's over 50% or higher, you walk away and it stays at 50%. You can come back and finish diffusing. And their reasoning was there were so many abilities that would stop the diffuse that you could come in and still finish the diffuse. So I don't think I got an idea of what the bomb timer was. Was it 35 seconds or was it 40?
Good question. I know the diffuse is
45.
There's no diffuse kits, by the way.
Correct.
Yeah, no diffuse kits, no extra speed up on it. But I do like that in that sense, the spike is almost like a mini control point for that kind of gameplay where if you're on it long enough, you get to keep half your credit, right? Like, again, like control point maps, right? So that's that's interesting. We'll see how that plays out, right? But it does make their logic makes sense with all the other shit that can disrupt your initial diffuse. You'd probably never be able to diffuse if you weren't able to lock in half of it along the way. I didn't play enough to really see how it played out.
I like that could be a tactic. Like, say you get a kill, right, and you have time to fuse halfway, and then you fall back and wait for the rest of your team to come in, so then you can get the rest of the diffuse. Like, there's so many cool things that you could do with that mechanic.
Yeah, again, that's why I can't wait till we get past everyone learning it, you know, and we get to see some top level pros when they just like the learning's gone and they're just playing the game, you know, because I think. Even that weekend, I saw some next level shit. You know, 2 agents working hand in hand together, combining their entries and shit. And not a lot were doing that, but I think these were to your point, Jason. These were the Riot folks that had been playing for a while, so they weren't learning shit. You know, Phoenix would flash, other guy would throw his, and here they come. And it's like, you motherfuckers are coordinated. I'm still trying to fucking see what he does.
Yeah, and I didn't play a ton of games this week because we had 3 days pretty much to play, and not full 3 days, but like just set times. And I was I think this was 7 or 8 games is all I got in.
Okay,
which is not a ton for this type of game. I mean, there's so much to learn. You got to learn the angles. I know there were some spots on defense that I was getting flanked on that I wasn't expecting. There's the Sova era.
I got flanked a lot. Yeah,
definitely.
Well, and again, we were also, you know, you were also trying to capture footage for YouTube and other things we want to make. So it's kind of hard to just play and grab those shots, right? Which was where the custom thing came in great for us to do the guns and stuff.
So this is the other side of that teleporter. So when they hit that teleporter, you can hear it pretty loud, and that's where they come from. So you kind of always got to keep an eye from that. And they can keep that door closed, so they don't have to just run out immediately.
Oh, so it teleports them into like a room behind that door?
Oh,
I didn't teleport.
Yeah.
Did you guys
notice
that?
Okay.
Did you from the shot from the other side of the map? So that's what's so awesome about the boxes just open automatically.
You're lagging like crazy.
Yeah, he's kind of breaking up.
Hey, there's Anthony.
What he was saying was that hit that shot from the other side. There's Anthony. He's the young buck, you know. If he wasn't making movies for us, he'd probably be on Love Island or something. That's Anthony, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the rounds just kind of play a lot like Counter-Strike. You know, you play for picks, you play for information, you fall back, and you attack a lot. This area is there's kind of like this showers area or bathrooms area that has an orb, and there's kind of like the middle path right there. And this is probably one of the, like Anthony and I kind of argue about this. He thinks this area is too narrow, and I just find the gameplay in this little area to be pretty neat.
Yeah, this is a huge choke, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it reminds me a lot of playing like the balcony in Inferno, or even kind of Dust 2 B bomb site kind of area. Just a nice little tight choke that you can really kind of dictate the pace of what's coming at you, and it takes a lot of work to get out.
Okay, so you planted, then you sent your arrow over to that side to kind of do some recon to see if anyone's rotating through, kind of thing. Okay, now you're holding this angle.
So there's a teleporter from the other site to there, and that's what I just got that guy from that teleporter.
Got you. Okay, cool. Very well done. Nicely done. Yeah, I played, I think, 3 matches.
Typing crazily, so I'm guessing that's Anthony.
Yeah. Every match I was in had Counter-Strikers in it, and they were dominating. My very first match, claim to fame, I did kill Lex, as I said earlier, but I was some random Riot name. But then Pokimane killed me, but we destroyed them overall, not due to my part, but 13-3, I think, was the score. But Justin, who's a Counter-Strike guy, big streamer, spells his name with a 1, I think. Anyway, big Counter-Strike content
9,
guy.
I think.
Yeah, 9. Thank you. He just was thrashing everybody. Like, again, if you're a Counter-Striker and you've got that head lock aim, you know what I'm talking about, where you're always in the right spot and you know where to look, you will one shot. You will fuck people up, man. The time to kill on this is again no peeker's advantage, but like first guy on advantage in that sense too, though. So I watched Justin destroy everybody, and then I played a game, and Shazam, who again pro Counter-Strike player, literally dropped 40 on us. Like he fucked us all up, man. Just again, people that can swing and be on target are gonna dominate in this game, right? And then Mega Man, who's also a Counter-Strike caster, was playing with him, so he knows Counter-Strike, and they were playing very well together. Again, I absolutely don't think this is going to hurt our favorite game. If anything, to what DDK kind of said, is maybe it'll get Valve to go, hey, man, can you care about your game a little bit more on a more regular basis? But I don't think we're going to drastically lose player base or viewer base. It's different enough in look and feel and gameplay, etc. But I hope maybe, like I said, I do hope it gives Valve a little nudge in the face. But yeah, I think Counter-Strikers are going to do very well at it if they can grasp the ability side of it. But because the gunplay, the aiming, even I was like, oh fuck, I killed that guy just like I should. This works as intended, you know. I just can't wait to see. And again, what you guys can do later on when we're done. Twitch Rivals has fired up today, and what they did over the weekend is they recorded a bunch of 10-mans kind of, or everybody recorded their POVs, submitted those to Twitch, and they're trying to do kind of a Rivals. It's not live, it already all happened, but they're trying to kind of rebroadcast as if it's live. And those were guys like Skadoodle and Nothing and Shroud, and like all these big boys were in these 10-man. So when we're all done, I'm probably gonna go watch some of those. Drops are enabled on their channels as well. But that's what I am really excited about. And I've said this over and over. I can't wait to see these tools in the big boys' hands, right? Because, again, I think this game's got legs. You know, I think this game is going to do really fucking well. And I am not paid by Riot. I don't have any love for Riot's corporate structure whatsoever. Never played League of Legends in my life. But it just, I think they've ticked so many boxes, gentlemen. I don't know if your thoughts are different. And again, work in progress, long way to go. But man, right out of the gate, this thing feels pretty fucking good. It feels pretty.
And the thing, the game runs just amazing. Like I think I get 600 FPS in this game, and that's with no tweak. Yeah,
Flexing
so people sit there and say, "Oh, I don't like how this game looks." I don't give a shit what the game looks because I drop the graphics down to nothing on every game. I didn't touch this game, and I get like 600 FPS.
Well, yeah, and that's
one
one of the things.
And I got 300.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
it's really well optimized. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I was gonna say it's well optimized, and I think their art style and their choices of not. It's a tactical shooter, but it doesn't look like it doesn't have this realistic, nitty-gritty detail that a map would need. That would, to DDK's point, in the Quake days, you turned it all off. You turned green screens off. You rid of all because you wanted to.
Now Scott's turn to lag. Yeah, Scott, you're lagging out there. But no, like in the old Quake, like we used to use like Pip Mip 3 or something like that, and all the walls would be like just one color, and then you put bright skin mods on, and same with on Unreal Tournament. I mean that's.
Yeah, I mean, I remember smokes used to lag me out in 1.6, so I used to put it on 16-bit smokes to stop that. But in reality, 16 smokes actually lets you, it lets you see through the smoke, and it was banned in competitive play. So you could see that owl drone from a third-person point of view.
That's cool. That's cool, Joe. Yeah, so I think they just, from the get-go, much like they did with NI Cheat, they built this thing to make sure it was FPS-friendly, right? Arts, everything about it. Again, really, really, I'm not around. Most that know me know this. But I thoroughly, I think this game's going to dominate. I think it's going to be, and it is part of the reason that we at Do Not Peek are looking at it. We think it's going to be a popular game. It excites us. So we are planning on making content for it. Again, if you're a Counter-Strike fan, don't worry. We're not going to lose our game. Or if you're an Overwatch fan, I think the same can be said. If you're an Overwatch fan, it's different enough of Overwatch too, right? It's not Overwatch. It's not Counter-Strike. It's not a killer of either, I don't think.
I think if you're a hit scan Overwatch player, you might be really excited about this game. If you're a BR player, for sure. I think Counter-Strike players will pick this up and play it, and they'll decide if it's for them or not. It might be their weekend game that they play outside of leagues. I mean, you don't have to play one fucking game, people.
But it was encouraging. And again,
Overwatch players are preparing themselves already. Like they're having support groups on the Reddit forums talking about how they are mentally preparing to be stomped by Counter-Strike players because of how similar the shooting mechanics are to that game.
Instead
of being similar to Overwatch.
I mean, I witnessed it firsthand, and no offense to Shaz, he's not even the best pro in North America, not by a long shot. That, and again, beta weekend, people figuring shit out. He was on fucking fire. I'm sure you guys were in games like that. Like some of these guys that just it clicked with Shaz. And maybe he wasn't throwing a single goddamn ability, and all his team was helping him on that shit. But man, when he was swinging out,
was he even using abilities?
Yeah, when he was swinging out though, man, he was not fucking missing. And the good part about it, you all know when you play a game and you die. You want to blame the game. You this fucked up, that I didn't see. Like I was just like
Jason just blames me.
Yeah, I just.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because if you notice that last thing, I ran out. He ran out with his ability. I called 2, and Anthony turned around and ran away.
Oh God.
He's like, oh
yeah,
probably ran away for some reason.
I left my cell phone back at the spawn. I got to go get it.
To give you guys an
cell phones aren't even in this game, Jason.
To give you guys anecdotal evidence about this, I tuned in once the entire weekend while they were playing, and the only thing I heard is Jason yelling about how Anthony didn't push with him.
Probably because I was using an ability. Unlike Jason, I was trying to use my abilities to help us enter sites, where Jason was just running site trying to use the guns.
Well, all you have to do is say, hey, I've got a smoke up. Nothing.
Jason, I can barely figure out what ability is what in my keyboard, let alone to what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Just read my fucking mind. That's all I want. That's all I ever want.
God, you sound like my wife now. I already got one of those. I don't need a second one. Scott, what were your? how did you feel? What did you? What were your main takeaway points for the most part?
Yeah, again, I played at the least of you three, and I did spend a lot of time, unfortunately, in matches, trying to figure out what the fuck I was doing and doing it badly. I liked it. I mean, it checked all the core boxes for me, meaning that my computer ran it well, it felt good, the net code, the movement. Other than what Jason said earlier, and we talked about off stream even that day. I think you used the analogy, Anthony, that you felt like you had maybe sandbags on you and you were sluggish as a character moving. I felt that,
a little bit.
But that's obviously an intentional thing, that the difference between walking and running. But again, I like it. I will play it. I had a lot of things going on that weekend, so unfortunately I didn't get to play it enough. But I will definitely be playing it on the 7th for sure. And now that I have a better, and I'm much like Jason, I don't, I think we're all similar. None of us like to lose, right? We're all very competitive. So I had this fine line of trying not to be a detriment to my team, even though it was just a fun weekend. But I felt bad that I'm sitting there still trying to learn shit and not using my utility properly, and not going the right way, and I'm getting flanked. And I felt bad that we were losing because of that. And I shouldn't have, because it's obviously just a fun weekend. But that makes, and I wasn't blaming the game, to my point earlier. And Jason blaming everything else but the game. The game is fine. Humans are the terrible part, right? Humans fuck up. The game felt good.
Potato aim and fucking old man reflexes are 100% the problem.
Yeah,
even old
but
man
I liked it.
I like your.
I liked Overwatch when it came out too, though. I'm not gonna lie. When Overwatch came out, I liked it as well. Not gonna lie, I played the shit out of Lucio for those first 6 months. I liked it, and then I got bored with it. Now, will I get bored with this one? I don't know. But we'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah. So very, very cool stuff. I know that the guys in production have been gathering some questions for us. So we were going to do another break and then come back and talk about maps and stuff. We've kind of progress. So I'm going to nix that, and I'm going to nix this other gameplay. And let's just go ahead and get into some of these questions because you guys are sitting around probably wanting some answers, if that's cool with Jason and Anthony.
Sure, let's do it.
Cool with me.
Cool. Okay. I think they're either going to put those in Slack for. Oh, they're in Slack.
They
Okay,
are
so
in
give me just a second. Yep, got it. Okay. This is from The Panic with a Q. Just tell me about the goddamn movie making potential, Anthony.
The goddamn movie making potential is as follows. Right now, I haven't figured out a way to clean up the HUD. So it's going to be a little messy as far as, clutter on the screen goes. And also, we don't have a replay system, demo system, or any observing system. So it's pretty much non-existent as of right now. But they are working on it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it is on their list of priorities. Just don't know how far down or how far up the list on that, priorities it is.
Sure.
So we're just going to have to be patient and cross our fingers that it'll come sooner rather than later. But I do like that this game is slower paced. So there is potential for movie making, unlike Overwatch, where everything's super chaotic and you have no idea what's going on. And there is no potential for syncing and tempo and flow and all those, things that are important to a good frag movie. So yeah, the future is bright for this.
Yeah, first of all, I knew exactly what was going on in Overwatch, but I don't know what you guys are saying. But okay, go on.
Whatever. Well, yeah, you and your storylines. Fired. All right. But thank God you're fired, Jason, because you wouldn't be sitting in Phoenix, Arizona with us. So there you have it.
True.
Not fired, not re-signed. That's the wrong way to put it. You weren't fired. You were not recontracted. Let's make it a little better for you. Okay, Trippin. Next question. How customizable is the mini map?
I didn't customizable. I did.
Okay.
So you can make it rotate with you, or you can keep it static. You can make it center on you, or be static on the site. And then you can also do the zoom level. So it's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Usable.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. What do we got? Anarchy Tech says, "Do not peek, Alchemist. Tell us." If I should read these before, just in case I fall into a trap on one of these. Yeah. Tell us about peeking. I guess they wouldn't be posted here if Ian didn't think they were worthy. Tell us about peeking and movement mechanics without abilities, please. So not using any of that shit, movement mechanics and the peeking, peeker's advantage they're talking about that they've eliminated, Riot says.
Yeah.
Well, that's all Jason did all weekend. So
yeah, exactly. I've experimented with this a lot. It is Counter-Strike 1.6. It is not CS:GO. It is if you're holding an angle, you do have the advantage. If you get the shot off first, you can get tagged. So if you get tagged and you're trying to just strafe out and peek at a target, if you get hit, it'll slow you down. And there's wall spam, so getting back around that corner is pretty hard. So I think you either have to make your first shot when you peek out, or you need to have teammates backing you up. It's very defensive.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for answering that. It's Taifu. Hey, Tyler, how are you, man? Tyler does some work for us on the breakdown. Local
Hi, Ty.
ASU student. Hey, Tyler. Hope you're all well. He asked a question. Important question about the game. Are any of the walls thin enough to shoot through? Absolutely. You can wall bang the corners of every wall. And then I think some of the actual wall that are thinner are full wall bangable. And then pretty much a shitload of these abilities are intended to go through walls intentionally. Mm-hmm. Like Breach has a flash that he queues up how far he wants it to go through the walls before it pops. So there's a lot of those kind of mechanics that you're intentionally pushing your ult or pushing your ability through a wall to then have it activate on the other side. And for guns, yes, definitely some wall bang ability. Now, do you guys know, is it gun specific as well? Like this gun can bang through a wall because it's stronger? Okay, so cool. So like Counter-Strike in that sense. Stronger guns can go through, weaker guns cannot. Yeah, cool.
I also like that they were reasonable about which walls could be shot through. You know, there are some metal walls that can be shot through, but they were
I should
super
basically pick a
thin.
character that can heal itself.
And then there were other walls that were thick and bulky
This hair
that
makes
the bullet didn't penetrate through. Oh yeah, here we go.
There you go. Okay.
Good man, Daniel. I was like, why am I hearing
Nicely
myself?
done.
He's queuing to stand up.
Yeah.
So right
it
now
is.
we're kind of just showing like lineups for heaven. Yeah, so Jason is right off to that right there. And so do you see how I'm trying to wall bang through that thick wall and it's not working? Like he's right there on the other side of it and it's not hitting him at all. So I repositioned to get through, I think, a thinner part of the wall. Yeah, even there, it's not. Oh, there you go. See?
Yeah,
you see
so
how
on that
none of that was
edge-
hitting him on the right side, but as soon as I got to the edge of it, then it started hitting him. So they
Cool.
were
So-
kind of smart about what's wall bangable.
Yeah,
Like
and
all
again,
the
like
boxes and the bomb sites can be shot through. If it's a piece of metal, a giant thick piece of metal, you can't shoot through it. If it's a thin piece of metal, you can probably shoot through it. Going through two objects, can't do it. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and again, I think a lot of this stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Scott. If I'm not mistaken, so walls that are wall bangable, even though you're able to shoot through them, if you stand far enough away from the wall, the bullet will actually drop off and not hit you. I think I remember that being said.
So you might need to be hugging the wall on the
right. So if you're hugging the
wall,
then you're in danger of being wall banged. But if you're away from the wall, then I think the bullet drops off and you won't be in danger of being wall banged. I think that was something that was stated.
Yeah, here's a few more. Like you killed him through that angle, easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys, this is all just in the custom server. On the custom server, they can make it so you can just respawn over and over. So it's
that's what I was saying. It's so cool to just go mess with shit. So yeah, if you want to learn,
that's great.
Like you don't have to go like be a burden on your teammates if you want to learn a bunch of angles or anything. That's the coolest thing about this set of tools that they put in the game. Whether it's checking agents or checking maps or, like we just went in there and started messing around with shit. So very, very cool. All right. So yes, wall bangs galore. All right. 16, Pibby 9, and might be saying that right. Do not peek. How will the game lend itself to community made things? What makes CS:GO go so great to do is how open it is, community made mods, map servers, etc. How will this be in Valorant? Will there be FFA server? Ooh, good question. FFA servers made and hosted by Valorant. Will it be open for customization? Ooh, they didn't talk in any of their official presentations to us about this kind of stuff. Did you guys get any kind of vibe on community supported stuff, workshop-y kind of stuff? What I would say, and again, I'm not a Riot guy, I'm not a League of Legends guy. What I would say is that would probably be our first clue is how they do that kind of stuff with League. Is any of that open? Is any of that community driven? Skins, etc., because I imagine they would lean into similar stuff for this. I know obviously there's not maps in League of Legends, right? But other stuff. Do they do anything community driven for that game? Because I imagine they should. If they do it there, they would probably do it here. If they don't do it there, it doesn't mean they won't do it here. Different communities, different kind of game.
Yeah,
they didn't officially talk about that stuff, though.
It should be easy to do it. Like there's already people making stuff for Unreal, so you'd think they would open it up. But with what they said about having a limited map pool, maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, and like it says, all League content is handled by Riot's full-time teams in chat. So thank you very much for answering that, Astrolix. Keep in mind, Counter-Strike, I can also fire a server up too. I can fire up a Counter-Strike server right now. You're not going to be able to fire up a Valorant server. Right, in the sense of go rent a server and play the game on and have your own community server. They didn't talk about it, but I imagine that will be locked down. Just like you can't fire up a random League of Legends server to play with your buddies, right? They will handle your matches, whether they're custom or matchmaking, ranked, etc., all by Riot, if you will. So I hope that kind of answers the question. Don't have a lot of answers for you on the question, unfortunately, but definitely a good question. Pibby asks again, and we did address this. Jason, I think you mentioned this. How is first bullet accuracy? Good, yeah?
I felt it was good.
Great.
Anthony,
like spot on,
what about you,
right? Like,
Mr. I carried you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was, if CS suffers from first bullet inaccuracy for some odd reason. It's super weird. I don't know why they would ever program the game like that. This game does not have that at all. Every shot that I took, it was spot on where I was aiming. I didn't have to worry about it going, awry. So it was great. I really like it. It was a good feeling knowing that I wasn't victim to variance and luck, basically. So I feel good about that.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, like so many checkboxes that they kind of did right so far.
Yeah.
It's maybe surprising for Riot. I don't know. Last question.
Hold on,
got.
before you get into it.
Wait,
talk about as someone asked about boosting, because I know we
I
asked
thought that was a good question.
Yeah,
We
we
have a
messed
video.
with boosting a little bit, but just in one scenario. But it might not be the overarching answer to the question, though. We found that we couldn't boost well, just directly, right? It didn't see like it kicked you off of my head.
Yeah, so like
So this is us just kind of practicing.
It's not missing his head. It's actually like a force field pushing me off his head, so I can't stand on it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like two magnets, against each other.
So there's a video that Mindo did, Daniel, that has some boosting, but it's very minimal. It's like using the head, using movement in the head to get to a higher elevation. So quick boosting, but not typical boosting, because that whole time that's a skill.
If you watch closely, you can see the the one character trying to push the other character away. Right? Do you see like that little jittering? That's trying to push you off the head.
It's safe to say it's not like Counter-Strike where you could do a very easy 2-stack next to a box waiting on a save round to fuck somebody. That ain't gonna happen. Now, was it Mendo that also was figuring out which is the agent that has the slight boost fly ability? Is that who is that can fly? Is that Jet?
Jet.
Because I think he had a video where he used a teammate's head. He flew, bounced off the teammate's head, and used that as a slight boost to get on a box he normally couldn't get to. But he used that guy's head plus his boost ability to get there. He couldn't do it without both, right? And I was like, Jesus, these fuckers are already discovering this crazy shit, man.
Yeah. They're mutating the game already.
Yeah.
Mendo is just really good about finding that type of shit. It's hilarious to watch his stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Overwatch,
we might need to get him on eventually. So boosting kind of there, but kind of got some mechanics to keep the basic, like you're not going to stack. Stacks are done. No stacking. Maybe you could do a boost to use it and get off and get somewhere. But yeah, no pub masters happening anytime soon, unfortunately. That's what we joked about when we were filming it.
Pole of death.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we'd stack a bunch of people on top of each other.
Totally. You're like, fuck, they're all right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All of us with dualies, too. Just like,
the good times. Good times. And again, as always, everything we've talked about, work in progress, right? Like, who knows what they've changed between last weekend and when they turn it back on this weekend even, right? Because I'm sure they got shitloads of feedback from all the people. 400 plus people were beaten on it, if not even more so. Okay, now last question. This is from Kimbroni. Do Not Peek. Do you think the observer talent that we have in CSGO right now will migrate? Or will CS retain the talent we currently have? Don't want CS turning into Overwatch observing. Good question.
So, yeah, I think it's almost a two-parter there. So the second part. Let's address the second part first. Don't want CS turning into Overwatch observing. This game, the abilities in this game is going to require lots of free cam, not during actual game fighting, but when somebody throws up those walls like that cover up half the map, you're going to have a camera that goes out and takes a look of where everybody is and gets you coordinated. It's like a big wall of smoke. If an observing team is on it and you got a smoke set up, you've got free cams showing that smoke come in and where they're landing, and so you know what's going to happen when that execute at the site happens. So that's what should be happening with Valorant observing. They should be going out to those free cams. You got to be able to bounce around to some of the other parts of the map to show some other things. But of course, it's a first-person shooter, so it should be in first person 80% of the time.
Yeah, And I would say, as for the actual observing talent, to answer that question, I think, again, you have to keep in mind our observers in Counter-Strike, who we know and love, the Rushlys, the DJs, the Sapphires, they're freelance observers, right? They're not full-time salaried. I don't think even Rush is like an ESL employee. Maybe Rush is over there right now. I don't know. But generally, DJ is a freelancer. DJ wants to make money. So DJ is going to observe Counter-Strike if he's asked. He's going to observe fucking this game if he's asked. I mean, Daniel, who's doing our production, has done observing. You do
that every sorry to cut you off, but I guarantee you that every single observer who has done any sort of FPS thing ever, and maybe even some, is looking at this game right now and waiting to see when the spectating tools will get added to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like every content creator, like we're content creators, right? In that sense, we're looking at this game as a business in that sense. And is there a future for us? Should we create content? So guys like DJ and maybe not Heather, because Heather also has a real job with Digitas, right? She does have a full-time job. So I don't know if she would start freelancing everywhere. She is married to Volcano. Now that's a really valid point. We didn't bring up when we were talking about observers. Sapphire, one of the best observers we have in Counter-Strike, married to Sal, one of the main developers of the game. I imagine they're going to have a pretty good spectator tool between asking Sapphire for feedback, other observers for feedback, etc. I imagine whatever tool they drop is going to be pretty good.
For sure.
And Prius, I think. Did we see Prius
I can guarantee.
weekend? I think he was around this weekend. He might have been playing this weekend. Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't recall,
but
I
didn't see him talk about it.
Oh, no, he might have been working. Yeah, he might have been working Flash. Maybe not.
However, I know all the top observers have been talked to about observing tools and features and things. So,
that's great.
That makes me feel.
That's great.
Now, hopefully that gets implemented, but we'll see.
I mean, they never talked to me, so can you really say that they talked to the top level?
Well, if they talk to you, that'd be coaching. So.
I mean, even Sapphire and Prius did not observe the Fortnite World Cup, the largest single esports monetary event on the planet, like our man Daniel did. Just trying to give you a little bit of love. I'm sorry I mentioned you. I'm sorry I mentioned you in Fortnite in the same
Don't ever
sentence,
mention me in
Daniel.
Fortnite, dude.
Never again. Never got that out of our system. Yeah. Full time with us now. No more Fortnite for him, though, of course. So I think the freelancers will absolutely, just like content creators, anyone, just like we were asking kind of Frankie and DDK, hey, would you commentate this? Would you host this? Would you cast this? I think those people will turn their skill set, especially our Counter-Strikers, actually, because it is very similar at its story. At the story, as Jason likes to say, the storyline, the storytelling is very similar to Counter-Strike because of this round-based system. It just gets a little crazier because now you've got more you got to worry about during a round because of the utility is so much crazier than our utility in Counter-Strike. I think we answered it. I think they're all going to dip their feet in for the most part. All right. I think that does it for the questions. We've gone for a good chunk of hours now. We started at 10, so almost 4 hours.
There's one more question in the chat that's pretty good if you want to grab this last one about franchise leagues.
Which one? Oh, yeah. The one that's highlighted? Yeah, got it. Are we looking from an esports perspective to have franchise leagues much like all? I personally think the competition between CSTOs keep things fresh and plentiful. So I did mention this earlier. My personal opinion is that Riot will absolutely LCS this. They'll VCS it, the Valorant Championship Series, right? They will do that. I think they feel that LCS is a great product for League of Legends, and so they'll talk to those team owners. They'll see if those team owners are interested, and maybe not right away. Maybe it'll be a year, maybe it'll be 6 months, but I absolutely think that since they, as a company, on a corporate level, and maybe I could be totally wrong, they might yin and yang it. They might keep Riot's League of Legends product in a nice closed LCS box, and they might absolutely go, hey, ESL, hey, everybody else, use our game forever, right? And it might be like a Counter-Strike. I don't get that.
I'm gonna go with they're gonna leave it open at first, just like they did with League and what Overwatch did, and then they're gonna close it down once the interest gets there. Yep. That's my guess.
And I'm okay with that. Like of the franchise leagues, I like their model better, right? It's not making as a team owner, it's not making you again, LCS, we have no idea what's going to happen with Valorant, but an LCS team owner doesn't have to throw their brand away and open a new brand and run 2 teams. They don't have to relocate to some random city. They have to relocate their team to where the studios are, where the matches are in Berlin and LA. But it's much easier as a team owner, and it was a cheaper spend, right? Now who knows who knows if they're going to franchise, and if they do, what they'll charge owners. But as an ex-team owner, I love that system so much more than the amount of money that the Overwatch teams have to spend and the Call of Duty teams have to spend right now, on top of spending to be in the league. So I imagine, again, to Jason's point, they're going to leave it open. They're going to let everyone play, and they're going to learn the best way to show it, the best way to do everything. And then they'll go, all right, thank you. Time to bring her on home. And obviously, not for a while, I don't think, regardless of this virus. I think just general, they'll let this play for a while. It's just closed beta that's happening next, right? But if I was a betting man, it will be franchised eventually. It seems to be the Riot way. So, yeah. All right. That being said, gentlemen, let's do some final thoughts. Final thoughts from either of you on the weekend, on your thoughts of the future of the game, what you're excited about. And I'm going to ask you what you're excited about in regards to Do Not Peak and what we're going to do and what how we're going to kind of angle towards it. Start with you, Anthony. We'll let Jason go after you.
As far as the company goes, I mean, I think when you can get involved in a new game that has potential to blow up in the world at an early stage, I think that creates infinite amount of opportunities for us. And I'm excited to chase any and all opportunities. I think that we have the potential and the ability and the skill to release some of the best content in the world, and I think you benefit from trusting us with creating that content. So hope to see all of our viewers back on our YouTube channel and on our Twitch in the future.
There you go. Thank you, Anthony. Nicely put. Jason.
Thank you.
I think it's always fun to look at a new game. I always like to figure out how new games can be covered or broadcast or just even looked at. Like Counter-Strike, I wouldn't say Counter-Strike's 100% figured out, but Counter-Strike's like at 95% figured out. You watch a really good ESL broadcast, and that's about perfect. Look at stuff that we did at E-League. It's about perfect. You get everything.
Yeah.
Blast is getting close. Blast got to get better graphics, better graphic engine.
Fix that HUD.
But,
Better HUD.
Yeah, well, not even just that. The HUD. Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
no.
But they need better stats and better information as well. But overall, I mean, there's just so much you can do in Counter-Strike that's almost at the perfection level, and it's nice to look at another game and see what you can do with that as well. And I think of all games. I think of what can you do with Apex? What could you do with Valorant? So I think it's fun, and the beta opens up on Monday. I'm going to play Monday. As much as I got pissed off, I can't wait to play it again just to see how it goes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys are still planning on playing it, or like, yeah, I got my fill, got my content, helps the company, and moving back on. Like, I'm going to play it. Now I can play it without the stress of it, I take it yes. Anthony, he said he's going to play it. You going to play it?
I mean, obviously, I have Echoes of 2019 to finish before I can engage in any video games. But I think it fulfills
and our latest top 5,
right, and our obviously our latest top 5,
and our behind the scenes video,
and our behind the scenes, and
oh god,
you're never finishing.
And our Valorant and our other
Echoes of 2019 coming out in 3 years. No, I think when I want to play a competitive shooter, I think this will definitely be up there, right alongside Counter-Strike Go, and because it has that feel that I love about Counter-Strike, which is why I've played it for 20 years now. So yeah, I definitely will be trying it out when the beta drops.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It was challenging to get us to this point today, but the show went really fucking well. So thank you to you guys for your part. Obviously, all the stuff you did to prepare the show. Jason, Anthony was the mastermind of a lot of the content you watched today. Big shout outs to the guys behind the scenes, Daniel and Ian, 2 more of our production gods that are running the show remotely. We're all remote. I vowed that I would never do a web camera fucking show again, and here we are doing a web camera show. Thank you, Virus. Like, we moved into a state-of-the-art studio so we could fucking use it. No, we can't use it. Safety first, obviously. But man,
They locked
we
us
if
out.
we could have done this like in our studio, God fucking damn, would have been a totally different show. But anyway, it is what it is. It went well. Thank you guys on behalf of everyone at Do Not Peak Entertainment. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. You've been great. If you've never seen us before or heard of us before, give us a follow. Definitely check out our YouTube. We will be dropping, obviously, more Counter-Strike. Anthony is working on our next top 5 from Duncan. We'll tell you what it's all about, but that's was in process before this weekend. But we've also got more content from the weekend that we didn't get a chance to edit to get into the show that we will put on our YouTube in a nice Valorant playlist. We'll put the stuff we already did, the agents, the weapons, that kind of stuff. But we've got other things we want to tick off on the Valorant checklist and drop those on our YouTube. So definitely, I think you kids say ring that bell on YouTube or something. Am I getting that right yet, Anthony? Is it ring the bell? Ding the bell?
I have no idea.
Ding the bell? I don't know, man.
It's
But do all those things.
right there.
Do all those things. Do all the follows.
Hit thumbs up. Hit the bell.
Like
Subscribe.
it, subscribe it.
Hold
Exactly.
on, I'll get this right.
The
There.
best part about there you go. We always make
There it is.
Anthony, like when we started the company, if you look at our thumbnails for like YouTube and like our tweets and stuff, very clean, very not YouTubey, right? And then we're like, you know what? These thumbnails got to be YouTubey, man. You need to get Henry G in there sideways and put a glow around him, and it literally kills Anthony every time we
I
ask
want to
him.
die.
Like
You wouldn't
that's not
believe this Valorant trick.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's a
not
fucking
using
buying a
number
weapon.
4 in our top 5.
It's literally like that. This thumbnail's not YouTubey enough, and he's like, "Fuck my life, really?" I
You
go,
guys
"Yep,
don't know.
not-"
You guys don't know, but
Anyway.
I slip a fuck my life in every thumbnail I make.
Yeah, it's like he just has to destroy his like his artistic integrity every time we ask him this shit. Anyway, thank you all for joining me on the show. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys got keys. If you didn't get a key, keep in mind tons of other people are streaming. Twitch Rivals is going. Go find yourself a key. We'll see you next, or I should say a drop, and we'll see you next week in the servers. And God willing, eventually we're going to see you back on the breakdown. And hopefully we can all get back to business as usual eventually once we get through this crazy virus thing. Please be safe. Please wash your hands. Stay at home if you can. All those good things.
Wash
And
your
we
fingers.
wash everything. And we will
Yeah.
see you the next time. Thank you much, folks. Have a good day.